And I don't know why you're laughing, because I might not actually be wearing any pants for all you know.
That's okay. As long as the camera stays at that angle, we'll be okay.
Well, don't tempt me.
Don't move.
We're still on Skype. We're still on Skype, boys and girls, and because lockdown, pandemic,
because we're still in lockdown.
But we're also in the middle of like the hottest week on record since the last hottest week on record. So I'm sweltering. I feel awful. I'm constantly
so
warm. I'm barely sleeping, and the room I record in is a south-facing room. So when the sun's at its highest, this room is an oven. So I always have a constant airflow going through it. But that being said, I woke up this morning, and I thought to myself, I'm just gonna wear some shorts for this recording. I'm just gonna put some shorts on.
Just shorts.
Which brought about the best reaction in the world as soon as the camera turned on. Because Matt just gave this look that said like, "Oh, is that how it is?
Is that how it is?
Oh, is that the type of content we're making now?
Put your top on.
It's for your eyes only, baby."
Oh, this is for the OnlyFans, is it?
Yeah, the big damn OnlyFans. You get to enjoy my pale chest that every time I scratch it, it turns into a freaking canvas for red paint. Enjoy!
Yes.
Weird, isn't it?
The sensitive skin.
I have like permanently slightly tanned arms, and then my torso is as pale as a ghost. As a big dirty ghost.
A ghost.
A ghost. Speaking of a ghost, that's probably how our listeners are feeling.
A ghost. Well, we got
welcome.
We got a ghostly email of mysterious providence.
Did we?
And it says this. It says, Chris, Matt.
Oh.
Do you want to come with me? Because if you do, I should warn you. You're going to see all sorts of things. Ghosts from the past. Aliens from the future. The day the Earth died in a ball of flame. It won't be quiet. It won't be safe. And it won't be calm. But I'll tell you what it will be. 12 brand new audio dramas from Big Finish Productions starring Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor. Moisturize me.
I need moisturising.
I need unmoisturising. I need drying.
Who would that from?
That was from Bowtie Animation.
Hi, Bowtie Animation. There's some plagiarism in that email.
I can't remember everyone's name, so you need to sign your emails with the names you want to be referred to by.
I'm sure that's Harry, right? Bowtie Animation.
I can't remember. I can't keep him straight.
Let's call him the message carrier. Because
people email with names, and then people don't email with names, and then people are on Twitch with different names, and I get confused. I need to start a spreadsheet.
Oh, don't! I've for like subscriptions on Twitch and the like. I have started keeping a notepad at my desk.
That's
specifically. It's hundreds of pages long, and I'm only using about 7 of the pages total. But it's got to the point where every time someone subs or like on a Discord, like I see a name's changed, I'm like, right, hang on, get it down, just make a note of it. Back up it goes, because it's the only way to keep track. People are obviously going to want us to talk about this Chris Eccleston announcement, so let's roll on. Welcome everybody to the Big Damn Cast. My name is Christopher Steak and Chips Johnson.
My name is Matthew Fantastic Watson.
You bally well are. This is the Big Damn Cast, pop culture podcast, nerdy news, geeky gossip, or whatever it is the hell we feel like talking about, because nothing's happening in the world right now.
Nothing's happening.
Except for the announcement of Christopher Eccleston returning to the role of the Ninth Doctor. He trended on Twitter all day long in the UK and in the US.
Big Finish finally did it. They finally got him.
The outpouring of love for this Doctor is wonderful to witness, because obviously he was the Doctor before the social media age really existed. So it's amazing to see the world openly celebrating my Doctor. They bloody love him to pieces, and I hope he's very non-current eventy in terms of his Instagram posts. He'll reply to comments occasionally, but he didn't post anything about it. He posted other stuff. But I hope that he is seeing the outpouring of love and adoration for the role. Apparently, it was a convention he was at. I think it was Chicago TARDIS or Gallifrey 1 in February.
Yeah.
Was the one that made him go like, "Oh, sod it, go on, like, I want to play him again. Let's do it."
Go on then.
Because of the panels and his birthday was on the last day of it, and they got everybody back in the main hall and everyone sang happy birthday at him and stuff, and he obviously could feel like, oh shit, people like what I do and liked it enough that now overshadows the grievances I have with that time working on it and the problems. Sod it, I want to go on, I'll return to the role, let's do these. Probably also the fact that he's stuck at home and he has kids, so recording remotely a bunch of box sets is not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea at all.
They're probably paying him. I don't know. Like, disclaimer: I have a friend who works at Big Finish. I don't know this.
I mean, it doesn't stop us giving him shit. So.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. There you go.
There's no conflict of interest there.
I would wager that he's probably the highest paid actor they'll ever have had doing the sets, and it'll probably be a one-time contract for the 4 box sets.
What, higher paid than Eric Roberts?
Eric Roberts probably would have been. I'm not even joking. Eric Roberts was probably the highest paid, and then Eccleston like rocks up. We'll get to Eric Roberts. We'll get to him and how much I missed him in this week's task.
Oh god. Okay.
God, it could have done with him and his weird sort of subtle campness. But yeah. Also, like it's yay. I'm happy. I'm delighted to see the love for him, and I hope he has a whale of a time making them.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I have to say about it. Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that, Gromit.
Yeah.
Not the only... I don't know what that voice was. It wasn't Wallace.
It was Nicholas Briggs' impression of Christopher Eccleston.
Nicholas
from the earlier episodes. It was just Nick Briggs. Just lovely Nick Briggs. Hello, Gromit.
Slightly...
Guy's got away with words. He nabbed Eccleston. So.
That's true. Got him.
And if you'd like, got him in the Briggs. And if you'd like, if you'd like 2 Northern people to play 2 Northern people, then we know 2 Northern people.
A Northern person for my film. The Northern person. The Northerner.
That's a recurring stolen bit, which I wonder if any of our listeners have ever understood. It shows up rarely, but it makes me happy.
For my movie, The Fat Man.
Fat Man. Oh, we've killed him. We've killed him already. It's happened.
So, here's the thing. Some other news happened this week, which is not so jolly.
Yeah, pretty shit, really.
DC just got fucking slashed. The AT&T, the parent company who own Warner Brothers and by extension DC, they just made a bunch of cuts and wiped out entire departments over at DC overnight. That's horrifying.
Yeah, we don't know exactly the reason overall as yet. Some believe it may have to do with losses incurred through the economy over the last 6-7 months, so they've had to preemptively cut some costs here and there to keep things afloat. But also, Time Warner, AT&T, I'm sure they're not hurting for cash. Let's be honest. You never know
with companies like these, because so much of it is...
They always play it so close to the pale chest.
Yeah, they're so big, but how much of that bigness, that's not a word, so much of that
how
size...
How much of the embiggening?
Yeah. How much of that size is, like, mired in loss? Like, how much of their acquisitions has saddled them with acquiring loss? Because that's what happened with things like... with places like Toys R Us. They were bought, used to offset someone else's debt, and then just left to die. So you're never really sure what's going on with what. And also, Warner Brothers won't have had any really big cinema releases this year since February, so...
True.
They're kind of in that way.
They also have HBO Max, which hostage audience live in and at home, like them spending the money on a new streaming service.
Another new streaming service, just what we need.
Yeah, well, there was already signs that DC was likely one of the places that was going to be cut with. I mean, for example, like signs as early as a year and a half ago, Swamp Thing, during its production, the DC Universe exclusive show, during production of Series 1, they are told, oh yeah, you're not getting a Series 2, because we can't afford to house everything, and we need to make some cuts already.
Then why did you make it in the first place?
Well, exactly. It sounds very much like one person pulls the trigger and it happens, and then another person picks up the gun and pulls the trigger for a different reason later, and you're like, oh, okay. I've seen that plenty of times where like people in charge in I don't know, like let's say some form of corporation that broadcasts, might be based in a specific territory. I don't know. A new person will take charge of a department or a channel or commissions, and because they didn't commission or have any involvement with the thing that's doing well, they just don't brain's melting. Recommission it. Yeah, they don't recommission it. They
not
just
even
go.
Don't recommission it. Just straight up axe it. Be like, I'm making sweeping changes.
Or throw less budget at it.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen that happen as well. They just go and give it half the budget. And you're like, why? So there's no... It's playground law. Like, there's no spoken solid reason as to why. It's just, it's because they weren't involved, so they're not asked as much.
Yeah, I don't like this thing.
That happened with Swamp Thing. Like, one person says, we'll make this, it'll be incredible. And then someone else later says, but it's going to cost a lot to keep the sets to one side for a year between production. Yeah, let's cut it. Titans and Doom Patrol already negotiating homes elsewhere is what the whispers are, but they've definitely been broadcast elsewhere so far already.
Yep.
Harley Quinn Series 3 moving to HBO Max from the DC Universe app.
Yep.
Stargirl's got its CW broadcast dates, so it's like, well, it's just going to move to the CW then, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there was already signs with regards to the DC Universe app closing down, that DC was one of the places that Time Warner or AT&T would just be like, yeah, they just make the cuts there. From what we know, DC Collectibles, which is their merchandise, their in-house merchandise wing and department, they work with freelancers to create the products and factories, obviously, to create and ship them.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, any DC figures that are currently on the market from the last few years that aren't by McFarlane Toys are made by DC. And that's all coming to an end effective immediately. So whatever products are currently being made will finish being made and shipped, and the profits will be made for DC, but that's it from now on. So anybody who's collecting the Icons wave or the any of the tie-in stuff to do with like the games or whatever,
it's ending.
That's done. That's ending. Means there's probably going to be a stunt to some of the deals with Lego for the like animated releases that they do, because they do tie-in merch for those, like for the special releases. So basically, bad time for collectors, but that's a first world complaint. It's worse for the people who work there or collaborated with them. And also within the comics, a boatload of editors have been let go. The complete list as of this record hasn't been announced, but like names are out there, and people have alluded to the fact that I can't talk about it yet, but yeah, I'm going to be very available from like next week.
And this is not...
Holy shit.
This is not that long after Dan DiDio was ousted.
Yeah.
That was what...
So it makes you wonder if he was a linchpin that was keeping certain wolves from the door.
Possibly.
And now that he's gone, they've moved in. Because even Jim Lee, co-publisher of DC Comics, like the mighty, wonderful, gorgeous Jim Lee with his dreams and his X-Men #1. He's been... They've not announced it yet, but they've said that he'll no longer be publisher, but he'll still be performing in the same role in the company. So what that probably means is whoever's in charge of stuff has gone, right, well, you can continue to run the comics. Yeah. Because it would be insane to just drop you now, all of a sudden. Like, we need you. You're the captain of the ship. But we can't call you publisher. Oh, that also means we have to pay you less because you're not public. Like, it looks like that's where it's going. And it's interesting. Like, I hope everyone's all right. I hope everyone lands on their feet. But it's just... And it makes you wonder how many books are about to disappear. at least temporarily. Whilst
Yeah,
things get
I mean,
reworked.
both of the big two have been hemorrhaging books, even after the massive hiatus they both took early on in the pandemic. Now that they're back to regular production schedules, they're still cutting stuff left, right, and centre. So it's not good for anyone, really. Pardon me. But especially so for DC having taken a hit like this, that's a lot of people out of work all of a sudden, and now is not the time to be putting people out of work. But I think we're going to see more and more of it across more and more industries. The UK is now officially in its worst recession since records began.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
So I think worldwide we're going to be seeing some serious hits. So yeah, it sucks. But
Do you know what else sucks?
emails.
The main topic of this week's episode. But last week, as part of our little mental reassessment of Christopher Nolan, Christopher, if you got time to sit, you've got time to work, Nolan. We re-examined Batman Begins and The Dark Knight through the prism of not having seen them for a few years.
To the prism of a decade at least since release.
Yeah.
Well,
and
12
also,
years for Dark Knight.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. And 15 for Batman Begins. Holy shit.
Jesus.
But also because all the stories we've recently covered about his behaviours on set, how weirdly petty he's been in relation to the release of his upcoming movie Tenet, which, let's face it, no one knows fucking anything about it, but Warner Brothers and Chris Nolan in particular swear it's the greatest thing you're ever going to see in the history of ever, Your Honour, so shut up and get excited, you small, pathetic ants. We will release it in the middle of a pandemic. So desperate are they that they've gone, we're going to put it in European screens and European Imax screens, because we need to make some profit right now, and Nolan seems to be less that, more, no, it needs to be seen on a big screen, I want people to see it now! Like, his fetish is clearly, watch this thing I made in a room, exhibitionism, watch it now!
It's how his downstairs swells.
Yeah, oh, how his husband's bulge and gorges.
Husband's bulge.
Whereas obviously America aren't going to get it, and that's already kicked off a big fuss with massive film fans or fans of his work, because they're like, great, so what, do we have to avoid the internet for an indeterminate amount of time, because there'll clearly be spoilers circulating? Like, this is nuts. And it's Warner Brothers' big summer tentpole release, but they're relying solely off of Nolan to sell it.
Yeah.
And obviously the cast, like, no, he always brings an interesting cast into his thing.
Yeah.
But it's like there's no real selling point for this movie aside from names. So his sort of insistence that we must see it, despite there being a fucking worldwide pandemic, has really made us sort of reassess Christopher Nolan as an author.
We can go to the pub now, so it's over. We can go to the cinema now, so it's over.
Can we watch Tenet at the pub?
We can watch Tenet at the pub. Actually, we've got a couple of emails about cinema visits in the age of COVID. So
bring them on!
We'll talk
and also
about
some lovely emails in regards to last week's episode about Batman Begins.
Some Batman adjacent emails.
And the Dorknit.
The Dorknit. Just Ruzzers.
For those who missed part one, though, like, whereabouts, where do you sort of stand in terms of how you feel about those films? Like, as a pull quote. Give me your best Paul Ross.
Batman Begins is fine.
That was a Batman adjacent joke if there ever was one.
Oh god. Batman Begins is fine, if a little morally grey. Like the way it treats people who commit crimes is questionable in this more complex age that we live in.
Yeah.
Or at least this more openly complex age.
Well, especially because the film tries to be grounded and have a sense of realism, and yet they still have the goodies, baddies, cops and robbers mentality. It's like you have to pick one and make that the whole. You have to cocoon the film in one of those ideologies for the presentation's sake. You either have goodies v baddies, or you have the real world is more complicated than that, and we're going to try and show every side of the story. You have to pick one, and it tries to have both.
Well, they try and double down on that in Dark Knight Rises, which we'll get to later.
No,
they sort of try and have more of their cake and eat more of it. So we'll get to that later. But I think Batman Begins suffers a little from that.
Rich cake.
But it's
rich cake.
But it's a solid action movie with some fun performances and a good cast. The Dark Knight is very, very good, built around Heath Ledger's astonishing central performance. But it is a little bit too long. That's my only criticism of it, really.
I still don't meet you on that one in terms of the length, but I think that's only been reinforced because of rewatching Rises a couple days ago for this.
Which is...
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, but again, we'll get to that.
But yeah, I'm kind of similar overall, though. Like, Batman Begins, I think, is a really cool character piece that was redone and outshone by Iron Man 3 years later, where Iron Man's like, we're going to be a character piece. We're going to let our actors dictate it, quite literally in terms of some of the scenes, because they improv'd on that one. But also we're going to very happily lean into the comic bookiness of it a bit more. Like we're going to start from the ground in Iron Man. They're like, we're going to start from the ground up, the bare bones of the concept, and we're going to tease the slightly more comic booky nature because we can then build upon that as the franchise goes on. Whereas Batman Begins is like, start from the bare bones, basics. Great approach. The world needed that in terms of its perception of Batman in the popular culture at that point.
Yeah.
Obviously, prior to that, Batman and Robin was the last big Batman thing that had come out. So that makes sense. But then some actors think they're in a comic book movie.
Yeah.
Some tropes play it like it's a cheesy comic book movie. The one-liners in Batman Begins are dreadful. And then by the end of the movie, just like, I had fun.
It's a character piece with a surprising lack of character.
It's a solid British rating out of 5. It's a solid 3-star movie.
Yeah.
I had a good time, and it was better than average, and I'd check it out again. I'd watch it again at some point, sure. Dark Knight has always been, since I saw it, one of my favourite movies. Looking at it through a more analytical prism, I think it still is, but I'm well aware of its shortcomings now. Like, I know pretty solidly what does not work about the Dark Knight.
I mean, shortcomings is a pretty ironic way to describe a movie that's a good half hour too long.
Again, it flows for me, but I think excuse me, I think that's just because like it feels, and I don't mean this in terms of like just translated as, it feels kind of like a video game. It feels more sequential. It's like this sequence, this sequence, this sequence, this sequence, this sequence, this sequence, this sequence. So I don't know. I kind of enjoy that flow, but again, that's just personally. It's not.
It's the Nolan thing of structure. Like everything comes second to structure, including pacing, which I think is the only real thing that's lacking from Dark Knight. Is sometimes the pacing's a little bit hurdy-gurdy.
But I think that was the first film of his where he starts to change his narrative preferences as well. And maybe that's why it felt fresh. Because, like, Memento is obviously about restructuring time in the narrative to tell a story out of order. I mean, that's the whole premise of the movie. Batman Begins, we said last week, the first hour is 3 separate timelines told out of order.
Yeah.
And Prestige takes advantage of different timelines and going backwards and forwards in the story to tell things out of order. Like, that's clearly something he liked to do. He's like, so we'll keep everyone on their toes because they'll have to really pay attention because we'll go here and they'll go back here and we'll go here and they'll have to see how that informs this moment and this, that, and the other. Whereas Dark Knight's the first film where that isn't a thing.
Yeah, it's more of a straight shot.
Yeah, the only time travel in that movie is Harvey Dent somehow getting out of that freaking car before it flips.
You don't think he doesn't get out of it before it flips. He puts his seatbelt on.
Then how is he alive?
Because seatbelts save lives, Christopher.
When your car flips 4 times at a practical stunt on a bridge.
Just saying. I'm just
I
saying.
don't care how tight your seatbelt is. Like he would not then rock up to kidnap Gordon's family without a neck brace on. Or at least every few seconds in that scene going, it's about what's fair. Shit. Give me a second. I can't even rub it. It's sticky. Anyway, that's the Dark Knight Rises I want to see.
It's all gooey.
But yeah, so we talked about those movies. We're going to talk about Rises. But first, your Batman adjacent thoughts, you dirty little piggies.
This one's not directly Dark Knight Trilogy referencing, but it is Batman adjacent.
Oh, I'll take that. I'll take that. I was going to cast them aside into the flame.
This one comes in from our second favourite stream watching Wookie, Chewie, who says, "Good day, Messrs. Watson and not Watson. On this occasion of my contacting yourselves with the Bat theme, please just talk about the honorary Super Dupo Sumo with his amazing butt Nightwing. Perhaps some butt combo move jokes. I don't know, just give the guy some love because DC does him dirty a lot and he's probably my favourite DC character. And sticking with the previous theme of Matt Berry's voice, who would you fan cast him as in a Batman film or animated property?"
Ooh. I have a good idea for that one. Right, so our love of... Shit, in hell, I just nudged a glass of water and it nearly spilt everywhere. For those who are listening to this...
much luck are you today, Cocker?
For those who are listening to this, a moment ago, Matt had to work his technical wizardry to, like, knock out a cock up in the connection. And it's almost like my body's going, no, you need conflict today. I've just nudged water.
Conflict.
It's not gone anywhere essential, thank Christ, but...
It's literally the last thing we need. The last thing we need right now is conflict.
Oh, good lord. Right, that makes some sense. There we are. So, Nightwing, love.
God, what have you done?
I would drop a glass of water on Nightwing.
And he's amazing, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't have that much love for Nightwing. Not because I don't like Nightwing, just because I've not particularly read that much that makes me go, oh, remember that awesome Nightwing bit?
No, let's be honest. You just thought he was a poser because he dropped the mullet after the animated series.
Well, but it's... dear me. But I think that's more emblematic of the fact that, pardon me, that DC have done him dirty, especially in recent years.
Killing him off, like, at least twice?
Yeah.
The whole Grayson thing?
Yeah, the Grayson agent of Shade or whatever. Or one second, I'm just going to chastise my cat.
Oh.
There we go.
That was, I'm not going to lie, that was erotically charged.
He's pulling up carpet.
Again, that sentence was erotically charged.
Sorry. But yeah, I know he's got an amazing butt. So that's kind of... That's all I have to say about Nightwing.
He's the best. He's the best gluteus gentleman in all of comic books. Like that's been acknowledged. He's one of the few.
He's the best Robin.
That's true. He's one of the few male heroes that comic books quite openly goes like, yeah, sod it. Let's make him a bit eye candy. Let's make him a bit of eye candy on the comic book covers. Let's go for it. Let's do this.
Oh boy, do they?
And good on him. And he obviously, like, Dick is a very confident dude who's very confident in his sexuality and his sex appeal as well. So it's like, fair enough. I feel like the character would not mind having his glutes shown off on the cover. So
no.
Good on you, lad. You beautiful boy.
So I'm Nightwing positive.
Yeah.
But I don't have a lot of Nightwing experience.
Well, just someone get. I mean, it might be a bit tougher at the moment, but just like get a writer, dedicated writing team to work on a run of his series. Give them like a minimum of 2 years to go at it. Like guarantee of what would it be 26 issues? Give them a guaranteed 26 issues, and be like, right, what's your pitch? What's your story? Where you going? What are your arcs? Who are your new villains? Who are your old villains? Great, Go for it, because. He's Batboy. He's Batboy number one. Like, give the dude a chance. Batgirl's had such successful runs as well. Like, she's had such really successful comic books, great reinterpretations, like money put behind the character. But it seems like that might now be a reflection of the fact they were planning a movie. So, give some love to Nightwing as well. Like,
I mean, he's in Titans, right?
I think so.
Is he Nightwing now, or is he still Robin?
I don't. No, they inevitably always make him Nightwing in some way. Even the Teen Titans cartoon, you met like a slightly alternate future version of the team from a timeline where things had gone to shit, and the version of Dick from that timeline was Nightwing. So even Teen Titans were like, we've got to fit Nightwing in it somewhere.
Even Teen Titans Go has done Nightwing.
Have they? Jesus, well, there you go.
Yeah, there's been a couple of times where they've gone into the future.
Ah, well, there you go.
And he's been Nightwing.
Who would be
that?
I don't know. It could be still him. Could be alternate him. I don't know if it's in any continuity.
I can't remember if Teen Titans Go Robin is Dick or Tim.
Oh, he's Dick. He's Dick.
Oh, okay.
Because it's the same characters from the original Teen Titans animated series.
Okay.
Just chibied.
And the original Teen Titans, presumably.
Yeah.
Which is why we have Cyborg. The dullest character.
Except in Teen Titans, where he's the best character.
Okay.
Booyah. He's getting a McFarlane Toys release.
I will admit, one thing I am curious to see in the forthcoming Schneider cut is more Ray Fisher hopefully doing interesting things with Cyborg.
Yeah. Getting given more material to work with. Who would we fan cast Matt Berry as in a Batman movie? I already freaking know.
Maxie Zeus.
Okay, no, your choice is better. That's for those who don't know, Maxie Zeus is sometimes a gangster, sometimes just a crazy serial killer, kind of like shows up and you're like, oh shit, what's he done? Oh god, he's got hostages. Jesus, what's happening? Who thinks he is, or sometimes based on who's writing it, is channeling like Zeus and the Greek gods. Sometimes he's successful and owns a club and like has women dangling off of his arms at all times. Sometimes he's just running around in a toga screaming at people. Everyone's like, oh Jesus, oh my god.
In the Harley Quinn cartoon, he's a creepy pickup artist style
pyramid scheme for villains. Speaker. Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. That was a really good choice because, like, he's self-made. He like does his own marketing. That's why the whole place is like a Grecian palace. Like it's all part of his look.
He has a creepy dick also.
Yes, he does have a creepy dick.
So I think Matt Berry would be perfect.
He would. You know what? Oh fuck. Jokes aside, he would be perfect for Maxie Zeus. That would be great because you could go for any interpretation and he would make it work. I think let's be honest. If he did it, he'd go for a Matt Berry interpretation of Maxie Zeus.
It'd be Jackie Daytona all over again.
It'd be Jackie Daytona. The name's Maxie Zeus, Olympian bartender. I was. Oh no, that's perfect. I was gonna say no. I was gonna say Professor Pig.
Ooh,
because I think
that's also quite good.
I think he'd sort of walk that fine line of the Circus of Strange, like first time we see him warped ringmaster kind of character, and the twisted nut job who shows up the second time he shows up in Grant Morrison's run, where he's like he's that's when he's in like the apron and is doing surgery and stuff. Like, I think he could hit that balance quite well. Plus, his online handle is Porksmith, so.
He is the Porksmith.
Destroy him so Daddy can rebuild him.
This one comes in from the other end of the world.
What?
This is from our single Australian listener, Jack. And this is about his COVID-safe Dark Knight Trilogy marathon.
Okay. COVID-safe Dark Knight Trilogy marathon.
And Jack says, "G'day, big damn boys. Jack here. I recently marathoned the Dark Knight Trilogy in the cinema, and I thought it was a nice coincidence that the podcast topic was about these movies. It was my first time seeing Batman Begins. Roughly 6 other people besides my friend and I were in the cinema. I enjoyed Begins, although I think it might be the weakest link. There were at least 14 others in the cinema for The Dark Knight. I had seen The Dark Knight before, and it was awesome to experience it on the big screen. Deserves all the praise it gets, even if I am a little sick of hearing how good it is all the time. For my first time seeing The Dark Knight Rises, there were exactly 0 people in the cinema. We had the whole screening to ourselves. I actually quite liked this one, and I don't see why so many hate it. My main criticism is about nothing really developed thematically. The Dark Knight establishes at the end that the noble lie about Harvey Dent must be upheld, and by the end of Rises, Batman fakes his death, and another noble lie saying Batman sacrificed himself is established and is kept secret for the greater good.
Christ, I didn't even realise that parallel. I didn't even notice that. It's the exact same ending.
After 2 hours and 44 minutes, the film thematically tells us exactly what we already learned from The Dark Knight. I also couldn't hear a word Bane was saying, but otherwise it was a sort of satisfying finish of the trilogy that happened on such an epic scale. I look forward to hearing your opinions and criticisms on it. Anyway, stay strong and emotionally positive during these harrowing times, and thanks for the juicy lockdown content. P.S. Don't worry, my state in Australia hasn't had a new case in months. The state borders are closed and necessary precautions are still taking place in public spaces like the cinema. If you're listening to this in the UK, don't go out to places like the cinema, you silly sausage.
Thank you. That is a genuinely solid disclaimer.
Which leads us neatly into our next email from Ethan from Dorset, which is not Batman related, but it is cinema related.
What?
And Ethan says, LOL.
Is Ethan a 1960s Bobby on the beat?
Apparently so. I emailed in a few years ago about random shit, asking for your thoughts on random shit.
And I've been lost in the Phantom Zone ever since.
But this time, I actually have something interesting.
What?
I'm currently listening to every episode from the start, as I'm a madman, and currently only in episode 28, but working my way through. Yes, you are a madman.
You're insane.
But we loves you for it.
Are you the reason for the huge streaming spike we got this week? Is it you?
Yeah,
have you listened to 500 plus in a day?
He's going through. I'm 16 and from the UK, where I brought a ticket to see Unhinged on the 5th of August, the day I'm writing this.
Ah, yes, the Russell Crowe, how dare you run into my truck movie.
Well, I arrived and sit down as normal. The film starts. Russell Crowe is a bit fat and unhinged. Ah, that's why it's called that. And then, 15 minutes in, the picture cuts out with the sound still going. I'm missing the most important part of the film, a man says a few rows back while going to get help. We then get told the projector is broke and we'll get refunds if we phone the customer helpline, and they give us 2 free tickets to whatever film we want. I get home, phone customer services. They then tell me that the cinema have not notified them that there was a fault, and then they hung up on me. That's as far as the story goes so far. I want my goddamn money back, cinema. Anyway, thanks for the good content. I'll hear this in like 200 episodes or so when I reach it, so I'll be surprised. Hello, surprise me in the future. You're a dickhead. Ta-ra, Ethan from Dorset.
Ethan, thank you very much.
That's the exact opposite of a successful cinema visit in the age of COVID. So that's happening, apparently.
Oh my God. We haven't been informed.
I will say this about cinemas in the UK. I got in touch with Odeon to cancel my Limitless subscription because you have to go through some fucking hoops.
And I still have to give a month's notice as well. So no matter what, you always pay at least one more. Yeah.
So after a couple of days, I get an email being like, "Hi, can I ask why you're thinking of cancelling?" I'm like, crack my knuckles, get to the keyboard. Well, and patient was like, "Well, you're constantly understaffed, increasingly so every time I go there. So everywhere looks like shit, and you can't maintain your facilities properly. And 2, combined with that and the general stupidity of the general public, there's no way I have faith in you to make cinemas safe during the middle of a pandemic, and I won't be going to you or any other kind of cinema until the new year, at least. So I ain't paying you. I don't want to talk about it anymore." I was like, I'm not opening any further discussion. I just want you to cancel my subscription. Just like, off.
Like, jog on. I love that you basically said, like, look, employ more people, give them more shit to work with, don't be dicks about that. Aside from that, ain't your fault, I just don't want to die. See you later. Give me my money back. Because that's the thing, you're not asking for like a refund of this month and like March or anything. You just like, I just don't want to pay anymore. Yeah.
I know they froze payments when the cinemas were closed, but now they're open again. I'm not going to start paying for something I'm not going to use, because I'm not going to go to an Odeon because, again, because I don't trust the general public to follow guidelines, because they can't. They've demonstrably proven that they can't.
Yeah.
There was another news article from Sky today where they sent a bunch of undercover reporters to different pubs in Greater Manchester, where we're now in lockdown again, but the pubs are still open.
Of course.
And 9 out of 10 pubs aren't following guidelines properly.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
So that's why we're back in lockdown.
Oh my God!
I've got friends who are going to pubs, and I'm like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?"
It's mental. I've found myself doing that mostly on Instagram. Like, I'll see a story from a friend or a colleague, and it's just like, why? Yeah. And I'm having to unfollow them because I'm just like, I'm getting stressed looking at your posts. Like, you are
It's very stressful.
And I'm not talking about a colleague who's gone like once. I'm talking about people who are going like at least 3 or 4 times a week to restaurants, to bars. And I'm just like, I get it. I do. Maybe you want to help the economy. Maybe you are taking as many precautions as possible. Maybe for the love of Pete, you have been fortunate enough to not know anyone who's gotten ill, or not know anyone tangentially who's gotten ill or lost someone to this, and you're just blissfully unaware of how serious it is. I wish I was that ignorant, but either way, just maybe stop doing it. Yeah, or maybe they're just not decent people. I've had to unfollow about 18 people from college on Facebook this week for the exact same reason, because there's so many of them peddling fucking conspiracy theories now. I'm like, why? Why are you doing this? Well, I haven't seen anyone die. Fucking shut the fuck up. Oh, God. Good. I despair, Matthew. I despair. That's why.
From one despair to another.
But what? No, I need escapism to make me feel better. What are you doing to me? Where are you taking me?
Well, I've got bad news. I've got good news and I've got bad news. Good news is we're going to do some escapism via the medium of film.
Yay!
Bad news is that escapism is to 2012's 12? Mm-hmm. The Dark Knight Rises.
Do you want to know the one thing I love about The Dark Knight Rises, legitimately? I'll say it from
What's
the
that?
off. Right here, just let me pull it up from my desk. Right here, I have the collector's edition Blu-ray set for The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
I was bought this as a gift by my my future in-laws. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a little display piece with the Blu-ray discs in the base. And here it is. So it's a like a stand with the title on it. It's the shattered back cowl, not based off the film, but based off the teaser poster. The original teaser poster, where it's in the foreground and Bane's walking away out of focus in the background of the poster. A poster which I've had framed on the wall just before release. I was like, oh, I can't wait for this. It's going to be great. You know, it's beautiful. It's Christian Bale's back cowl in like a quarter scale. Shattered parts. You go to the back and there's the film in a
Discs.
2 Blu-ray discs in a little tray. It's really nice.
They're not labelled, so you don't know which one's the film when you put it in.
Turn to side B now. But like, it's a really cool ornament, and I love this thing to bits. And it was a lovely gift, and I can't bear myself to part with it, despite the fact I care very little for the film it contains.
I'll say this about The Dark Knight Rises. I don't hate it. And I think I enjoyed my recent rewatch of it more than I expected to.
Yeah.
However, it's not good.
No, it's not. It is not a good film. It is,
and
objectively, it is a very well-made film. But it's not a good film.
Yeah,
objectively.
If you don't regard pacing...
Listeners, if you're listening to this...
as an element of a well-made film.
And you enjoy it, That is awesome. We wish we felt the same way you did.
Oh, God, do I.
But from an analytical standpoint, it's not a good film. And we're going to talk about...
It's a very long 2 hours and 44 minutes.
Yes. Oh, Jesus.
A very long 2 hours and 44 minutes.
Yeah, I think I have my issue with this that you have with Dark Knight. Like, I felt this one. I was like, Christ alive.
It's not so much that I feel Dark Knight. It's just that, like, it drags. It just, when it gets towards the end, when it gets into the hardy stuff at the end, you're like, this is a little bit, like, there's a little bit rushed. It doesn't really have room to breathe. And it's just dragging out this movie a little bit longer. But it's not like, it doesn't put me off the film. I still think it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's a minor issue. Like,
Whereas
it's a minor pacing issue. Whereas Dark Knight Rises is a major pacing issue from the off.
I took a couple phone calls during my rewatch and would pause it. And it's Blu-ray, so like when you pause a Blu-ray, for those who don't watch Blu-ray or just watch on digital or whatnot, like when you pause a Blu-ray, like the time code appears on the screen with a lot of them, like a little kind of a strip with the time code.
Well, I've only got a digital copy, so I was watching it on YouTube through my Google Play library.
Yeah.
And but when you pause it and that timer comes up and you're like, how long?
How long have I got left? What the fuck? I was just so... So, the basic plot. Sequel to The Dark Knight, set 8 years later. Bruce Wayne and Jim Gordon have lived with the lie of Harvey Dent's murdering of a load of corrupt criminals and police officers on the night that The Dark Knight story concluded on. To save his reputation and make it look like he was a good guy, a martyr basically. He was a good guy taken down by horrible people, and Gotham should all live by his message. They even brought about an act in court, the Harvey Dent Act, which got a bunch of criminals, like hundreds of low-level and high-level mob workers, enforcers, and petty criminals put into Blackgate prison.
Yeah, there's 1,000 people in Blackgate, they're saying, and because of the Dent Act.
Because of the Dent Act, and Gordon, after 8 years, is feeling the weight of the lie. He's like, no, he nearly killed... he probably could live with it had Harvey tried not to kill his family that night. He's like, no, I need to say something. But he doesn't. But Bruce is forced out of his sort of self-imposed retirement from being the Batman when the League of Shadows reemerges, this time a bunch of offshoot members of it, led by a mercenary called Bane, who trained with the League of Shadows and is planning a massive entrapping of Gotham for reasons as yet unknown. That's your basic plot for The Dark Knight Rises. If you don't want spoilers for this movie, tough shit, they're coming. But honestly...
we've already spoiled it for you in the emails. So.
Yeah, if you really don't want them, we'll see you next week. See you soon. All our love. Goodbye. But...
Bye.
Here we... Oh, Christ. Can we start at the top?
I think that's a good place to start.
And I mean pre-movie. I didn't watch it on my collector's set. I didn't watch it on my collector's set because that was bought for me as a present after the fact. I have it on Blu-ray with my other Nolan Batman films. And this is how amazing this movie believes it is, yeah? The Blu-ray cover has no plot summary, no pictures from the film, and the only non-spec or special feature bit of dialogue on the box is a pull quote from the Daily Express on the front that says, unmissable.
The Daily Express.
Yeah. That's all that's on the cover.
It's unmissable because it's so long.
Even the cover is just trying to make you think it's The Dark Knight, because it's just Batman in silhouette with an explosive, bat symbol behind him. That's the cover. No broken mask in front with Bane walking away, which would be an interesting cover. You'd be like, what? But the title says he rises. That's a good image. Yeah. The title says he rises. Why is
Dark Knight Rises?
Why is his mask broken on the floor? Oh yeah, this film really reinforcing the idea that the mask is made of graphite as well, which I'd forgotten until the last one. It was like, oh yeah, it is, isn't it? Because when Bane bloody cracks it, it's just cracked. You're like, oh, no Keaton cottage cheese mask in this movie.
No, sadly.
Where's your eye makeup? Yeah, apparently they clothe Bruce and wash the eye makeup off of him before he gets to the prison.
Yeah, I noticed that. They pull him out of his batsuit. So where does he get the other? I guess he's got more. He must have more than one batsuit. But anyway, that's a minor quibble.
It would have been more badass if in the final act of this movie, the batsuit he's wearing when he rocks back up to Gotham is the Begins one. Yeah. Because you'd go, oh shit, he's just literally grabbed the nearest one he can get hold of, and then it makes it even more impressive that he defeats Bane the second time, because it's like, oh, he's doing it in the less advanced, more cumbersome suit. And he's still managing, because the rage is fueling him to win.
I will say that the actions, like the one-on-one fights in this, are better shot and edited than they are in Begins and Dark Knight. Like the two Bane fights,
they're still ropey
way better.
compared to other directors out there at the moment. But I know what you mean. You can see them clear, and I think it's because, especially the one on the bridge and in the hideout, because they are the focus. Like there's no train whizzing by them. There's no random intercuts of sonar vision. Like there's, Nolan has less to cut to. And when he does cut to something, he cuts to what I think is the strongest link in this frickin' film, which is reaction shots from Selena. On this rewatch,
they're quite good.
On this rewatch, the best performer in this movie is Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway's great in this.
She's really good in it, and we have theories as to why. We've touched on them before.
She doesn't get a ton to do, but she is really good in this.
They rely on her to be reactionary, which is a fault in a way, because it's like, why would you cast her? Why would you put a fan favourite character, Catwoman, in this movie and make her mostly reactionary? Like, not really give her a drive or stuff beyond, like, maybe 20 minutes of screen time overall. But, that being said, Hathaway is so good at what she does.
Oh yeah,
that she sells that scene, the Batman broken scene, because it cuts back to her so much, and her reaction is pure horror. Because Bane's thugs aren't cheering him on or anything; they're all just watching stoically as Batman gets his arse handed to him. Whereas Selena is also, she's trying to retain her composure, but she looks terrified the longer the fight goes on, and it's all in her eyes. Like, she looks terrified. She's like, wait, fucking what? Like, she didn't want to bring Batman here, but she had no choice. She had to, because of her connection to Bane and, like, helping them set up what they were doing and get cover of night and all this into Gotham.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm on Bane's side because I have to be. It's part of our deal. But she doesn't want Batman to die, and you can see it in her eyes. She's like, and it's just the best shot in this movie, and I text this to you, didn't know I was watching it. The best shot in this film is about 5 minutes in, and it's when we see Bruce again for the first time with his shit Robin Hood beard, and which I'll never get. I'll never understand. So he's secluded for 8 years, and he's decided to cosplay Green Arrow. Fine, sure, beard and everything. It's like, what?
Yeah,
But and she's we don't know it's Selena yet. She's just this slightly shy maid who's been told to bring the meal up to the east wing. Just unlock the door, leave the tray, lock the door in the way. Nothing else. It's like, all right, Alfred, okay. His reveal shot's really nice, because you've not seen anyone other than Gordon that you know in that first couple minutes, and then suddenly, like, the wait staff are running around, like, trying to cater to this party, and then Alfred just comes in and basically is like, everyone shut the fuck up. Who's done this? Less of that shit. You go over, and you're like, oh shit, it's Alfred. It just sort of appears, and he's shot in a way that isn't, hello, old friend. He's shot in a way from their perspective of, oh fuck, it's the boss.
Yeah, it's incidental.
Yeah,
it's nice.
But then she gets in there, and he deduces very quickly that she's nicked his mother's pearls from the safe, and she's got through all this thing, and she does a reverse, kind of like a reverse, like a version of the Clark Kent into Superman shot.
Yeah. Which is another great, like, physical performance.
Yeah, where like, he's going to tell Lois, like, Chris Reeve is going to tell Lois that he's Superman, and you just see him take the glasses off, and it's his entire posture, and everything changes, and in a blink of an eye, you're like, that's a different character. I believe that. Hathaway does it here. She does it, like, in reverse. She goes from the thing he made in this one shot, just immediately slips into Selena. Her face is like, for fuck's sake. She's like, you got me. And it's like, whoa! Oh my god, that is so good. I hope this film doesn't misuse you.
She does it a couple of times.
Yeah.
She does it again in the diner when she calls the police on him, and then she just suddenly goes from Selena to screaming bystander.
Yeah.
And then just drops it immediately when the police are out of view. She's very good at that in this.
There's a one-liner that I don't cringe at in that scene, and it's the whole, like, you should learn to count. Oh, I can count just fine. In fact, I'm counting down from 10 right now. As the guy puts the gun to her head, it's like, fuck.
Good old Burn Gorman.
Can we just say, Burn Gorman he's cornered the market at playing slimy, creepy bastards to perfection. Yeah. He's so good at it.
When he turns up in something, you're like, oh. we're all right.
There's a few really good character actors in this who regularly get cast as baddies, but I noticed this is kind of like the first movie where that happens, weirdly. Like, Mendo. Ben Mendelsohn's in this.
Yeah.
I'd completely forgotten he's in this.
But it's one of them, they'll have seen this, and they'll be like, oh, it's Christopher Nolan film. Christopher Nolan made this character actor a bad guy. We got to put him as a bad guy in our thing. Yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
We gotta change things around. But he's great in this. He's the perfect level of kind of like slimy. He's sort of he's the business version of Eric Roberts' mobster character from the second one. Like he's
trying to take control of Wayne Enterprises, basically.
Yeah, and just
in yet another subplot that no one cares about.
Yeah, because that's the thing. A lot of the stuff that happens with characters is that it's a means to an end. Everyone's a means to an end for a greater plot, and sometimes we see those plots tie up. Like with to be fair with Daggett, like Bane essentially cuts off the loose end. But at this point, Bane's plan is so far along, it doesn't fucking matter if anyone catches out what's happened. Like, no one's going to care that, like, oh, hang on, Daggett got you guys in here, because it's like the next day Bane rocks up in a football stadium and it's like, what up, Gotham? Like, this is what's happening. That is a great sequence. That is pretty cool. That is a great sequence. That's pretty cool. I also love the fact that, and I'd need to get it confirmed, I should probably look in the behind the scenes book, but like, the big crater in the football field almost looks like it's an imposed matte painting. Because Nolan tries to avoid all-out CGI shots where he can. Yeah. In this film, there's a way more than the previous two. Well, there's just some stuff in this that couldn't have been done practically. Or even just like just the bat pod, like the bit where Selena like skids and realigns on the bat pod, and it's just like, well, that's a CGI shot. Like that is a full-on CGI shot. But it's because they really want to kind of one-up the fact that in the last film, you see it like go up the wall and then the base like turns and then it drops back into position, which is a practical shot in the last one, or at least looks like it. Whereas in this one, it's like, well, we want to see it do that in motion. Transformers, that shit. It's like, okay, I guess we're doing this now. I guess we're doing this. But the football stadium scene's great. It's let's get to the metal crab-faced elephant in the room. Listen. I like Tom Hardy as Bane, but he's in the wrong film. He's in the wrong bloody film. Sorry, that's the Harley Quinn version. Hello. Do you validate parking? Christopher, no more Bane voice now. Use it sparingly. Okay. Well, I tell you, one thing I noticed on this watch more than any, and I got to see because of the scavenger hunt thing back in late 2011, early 2012. Oh, yeah. I got to see the preview event at the Imax in Manchester, and they like took everything off you. They took your phone, they took your wallet, like they took everyone's stuff off them. They put it in these little safes. They gave you a card and all this, that, and the other. And it's like, Jesus Christ. Which now I realise wasn't for the sake of like preventing piracy. It was for them to suck their own dick and appear more important than they really are, I think. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, but they because why would they need to take like your wallet and stuff? Because they were like, well, we need to make sure you've got nothing on you, like no recording equipment at all. And it's like, bullshit. Just get everyone to turn their phones off and then take the phone off them and then return them afterwards. Here's me with my credit card camera. But that preview was at the IMAX in Manchester, and it was the opening sequence with the plane, which again is phenomenally shot. Like, yeah, and they released that on the Dark Knight Blu-ray, at least the one I've got. Yeah, by the which one have you got? Have you got the dual box set of Batman Begins and The Dark Knight? The black sleeve one? No, it's a single release. It's double disc for The Dark Knight. Was it? It must have been. It must have been a repackage. It didn't come as a set. Must have been the repackage. I think it was a repackage. Okay, I was going to say they definitely didn't shoot that 5 years in advance. Like, oh my god. No, but they got the Dark Knight Rises IMAX preview on that. But I don't know if the version on that is the one with the original sound. Well, here's the thing. So I saw it, and Bane was tough to understand. Yeah. And I always took it at the time as like, oh, it's just jarring because my ears aren't ready for this yet. Like, I was not prepared for this. It's just really sort of like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's odd, to say the least. Then I saw it 5 months later, the midnight release, but midnight coinciding with America because spoilers, because Nolan. So it was like 5 a.m. in the UK, 5 a.m. screening. And I watched it, and I came out of it with like a free day until 2 p.m. So I was like, I feel great. I'm gonna go home, have a quick nap, have some lunch, and then go to work. This will be great. But I came out of it going like, yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool. But I think it was more just the excitement of the event of, oh my god, like
it's
400 people have rocked up to the screen at balls o'clock in the morning to watch The Dark Knight Rises. This is quite cool.
Sometimes you watch a movie and the experience itself leaves a nice glow on you, but then when you rewatch it, you're like, oh no.
By that afternoon, I was thinking about it, and I was like,
that happened to me with Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Where I saw it and was like, oh yeah, this is actually really good, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh no, actually it was pretty bad.
Oh god, no.
God, no.
Jesus Christ, no.
And I think Dark Knight Rises really suffers from that. It's a film that falls apart under any sort of examination, which
by that
is
afternoon,
odd. Yeah.
By that afternoon, I was like, hang on, what the fuck? But the other thing I'd noticed on that initial screening was Bane sounded clearer.
Well, they redubbed it.
But they claim to not have done. They've repeatedly claimed to not
it.
have done, which is so blatantly a lie. Now, maybe they just mixed it differently. But
yeah, actually, they might not have. It might be an exact words thing. They didn't re-record it. They just changed the processing.
Really fucked around with it. But it's never been more noticeable to me. I've watched this movie on home media maybe in the last 8 years, maybe 4 times, including this week.
Yeah.
And I watched it this week here in the office. I had it on my, Benk PC monitor with my newly installed, what the hell's the make? Majority tiny little soundbar. It's a really nice quality soundbar. It's cheap and cheerful, but it does the job and it sounds really nice. Everything sounds great. The moment, the moment we get to,
perhaps he's wondering why you would shoot a man before throwing him out of a plane.
Suddenly, this one soundbar that is not a surround sound system sounded like someone had fucking hacked into it and was broadcasting a completely separate signal. This is the first time where I've listened to it and gone, that doesn't even sound like it's in the... It sounds like someone's gone, oh shit, we forgot to include Bane's dialogue into the mix.
Yeah,
drag and drop.
Sound...
It's so bizarre.
It doesn't sound diegetic.
Yeah, and that would be fine if this weren't because this is absolutely the first of the 3 movies that is, we are grim and gritty and realistic. This is the first one that's like, that's what we are. Like we said last week.
Yeah, it's also simultaneously the most outlandish and comic booky of the 3.
Yes, because Batman Begins, we said, isn't grim, gritty, realistic. It's just back to basics. It's like, here's the core elements of Batman. We'll stick with that, and we'll throw in a little bit of comic book fancy every now and again.
Yeah.
Some actors enjoying it more than others. Dark Knight is more, we want to make an action-packed crime thriller using the toys that we set aside in the last film. So it is a bit grittier, yes, but it's not like grim, dark, and ultra serious. It feels a bit pretentious because of like all of Alfred's truisms and everything. And the fact that nearly every character is spouting a philosophy at least once in the movie. Like, it feels a bit pretentious, but it's not. We're real and grim and gritty. This one's like, we are though. We are like the 4 years since The Dark Knight had come out. They've obviously absorbed the buzzword review zeitgeist opinion of the previous 2 movies and decided this film is that. It's definitely that. Like, they believe their own externally worded hype, and it's palpable throughout this whole film. This film feels like it's making a statement about society. The closest film I can think of in recent memory that is we're saying something important with this, forgetting that ultimately you're a fucking movie. You can say important things. You can make people think and be introspective. But at the end of the day, you're a film about a billionaire who dresses up in a costume with bat ears and punches like colourful costumed villains. Like, the closest recent release I can think of is Joker. It's the same thing of like, we're doing something important. It's like, have a man dressed as a clown, like ballet dancing to himself in a subway bathroom.
There are bits of Dark Knight Rises that are very much, we live in a society.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Like, it's super on the nose. But because it's, like, tonally all over the place, it doesn't really work.
No.
Because it's so tonally inconsistent, and it's very, like... This trilogy as a whole is difficult to revisit as it is in the times we live in now, because it is very police apologist.
Yeah,
it's very pro-cop.
I tried to filter that out in my head a little and remind myself that this was 2012. Like, the film has not taken upon itself to be responsible in this.
But I think the only difference is between...
part of that's the Michael Bay thing, though. Like, Michael Bay has the military so heavily in all of his shit because he gets sponsorships, he gets to borrow their vehicles.
He's very gung-ho.
He's very gung-ho. And it's very sort of like, we need a tank. Okay, we'll tell you what, we can give you 15 tanks, but can you sort of like, show the military as being enlist-worthy? Not only will I do that, I'll fill a fucking hour of this Transformers movie with basically military porn. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Nolan, I think, is very much... is like that in the same bent in a way. So here he wants to make a story about fighting against corruption, but he forgets, and this is just within the narrative of the films, he forgets that the previous two movies have been strongly setting up that this city is in every one of its veins flowing with corruption, including...
No, it's because they had the Dent Act and all of them went to prison. No. All the bad people went to prison and only the good people are left.
Which is what... But I know what you mean, like it would be less uncomfortable now if it had been more focused on, like, John Blake, someone who we are shown to be a good, decent person who wants to do the right thing and has joined the police because that's how he feels he can do it, which is, the reason why people should fucking join the police, to do good in the world and protect people. If it was more about him and Gordon raising an army to fight back against the oppressors of Gothamites, I think it would be less awkward and less tone deaf. But I agree with you. Like, it was probably tone deaf at the time. We just weren't as aware of how tone deaf.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah. It's like it's not that things have changed in the real world. It's that our experiences and the things that we're aware of have changed.
We've been made aware of things so much more.
Oh,
we're not saying you can't make any movies about good cops or cops doing the right thing. You should absolutely do that, but you should,
this trilogy as a whole, and to a greater extent this one in particular, definitely draws a line where it's like, okay, police are all good people, and criminals are all bad people. Like, the city really goes to shit after they release all the Blackgate prisoners. And it's kind of implied that the Blackgate prisoners have just turned it into a playground of horrifying violence and crime.
Yeah. Like, I mean, all it takes, considering how long the fucking film is, it's not like they wouldn't be shy to put more in. All it would take would just be to see, like, one Blackgate prisoner going back to their family and hunkering down, just to kind of show that there's a bit more to it than this. Like, the Blackgate prisoners aren't just a bunch of minions for hire. Like, some of them are people who did the wrong thing, like, for the right reasons, and got punished for it. Like, don't be like, all of them are gonna fuck this shit up, and we need the good guy boys in blue to take them down. So,
I think all the films have sort of this problem where they don't humanize criminals, despite the fact that criminals are human. I'm not saying that people are bad. Like, I'm not saying that people can't be, like, sort of irreversibly bad.
I think you just got reversed mid-word.
Yeah, I did get reversed. I think life is a bit more complex than that, but I think that these movies really lack any sort of humanization for people who commit these crimes.
Dark Knight did it better
because
the ferry scene.
Yeah, the ferry scene does it better. That's the one time it really does it, but in all other aspects, it's like. But it also, they try and do it with Joe Chill at the start of Batman Begins, but it's the same and they do the same thing in The Dark Knight with the people on the ferry, but both of those instances, well, the Joe Chill instance ends with him being killed.
Yeah, getting assassinated
Because
externally.
that's how he's redeemed. Yeah, he's redeemed by dying, and the ferry scene ends with them being quote unquote redeemed by the idea that by the resignation to the idea that they're going to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
there's still an element of martyrdom here.
Yeah, there's no redemption for these people, only death, because they did one thing wrong, and now that and even bald white dude even says it in the ferry scene in Dark Knight, where he's like, they made their choices,
they
had their chance, and it's like, that's not how life works, man.
Did you watch the Maggie May Fish Zack Snyder Part 2 thing?
Yeah, that we're already dead.
Yeah. You saying that to me just now has made me think, oh shit, Nolan operates on a similar philosophy.
Yeah.
Like,
or at least he does in his Batman films, I think.
Yeah, everyone has to die because that's the only choice, but sometimes it's one or the other person and that's it. And it's like, you have to die as a result of your or someone else's actions. These are the only stories I can tell. I am Christopher Nolan, I am Zack Snyder. Yeah, because even this, like you said, and like it was pointed out in the email, it hadn't even hit me, this ends with Bruce Wayne, Batman, doing the exact same narrative sacrifice as Harvey Dent, in the sense that, like, they die, and their death, and the lie about their death, is what inspires Gotham.
Yeah.
So if Bruce ever came back to Gotham...
God, I've got to get the door, one sec.
Oh, that's alright. I'll fill in with some naughty nipple sounds. Right, Matt's just gone to get a parcel. I'm not actually going to make sounds with my nipple, but what I am going to do is tell you all about an exclusive offer that's going on right now over on Big Damn OnlyFans. If you want to see Matt bathing in a bath full of noodles whilst playing Minecraft, using noodles, not even on a console, just like splaying out sets on his chest, then all you have to do is subscribe for the low price of $4.99. Oh, he's back. Hi.
Right, apologies. Were you selling your brain pills again?
Something like that, yeah. In a way.
I might leave that in.
I hope he does.
But yeah, redemption and death are the same thing in Nolan's eyes, and
they're the default.
I think in like Batman making exactly the same sacrifice as Harvey Dent did, and it being based on a lie, and them sort of canonizing him as a saint in the same way that they did with Harvey Dent. Like they unveil that statue at the end.
Why?
In like what looks like either the town hall or like the main police precinct. I'm not sure which.
In the logic of the movies, that makes no sense. He's a dude who showed up 8 years ago for just under a year, beat up some criminals, inspired a load of makeshift vigilantes who got themselves and other people killed, and then he rocked up 6 months ago for a night and flew a big air tank around the streets. And allowed
criminals to escape because the police were more interested in going after him than they were in going after the actual criminals.
Yeah, why is Batman put on a pedestal in this universe?
Yeah, because everyone, like, there's a thing like all the kids in the younger generation seem to love him and want him to return, but they have no sort of...
Some of them weren't even alive when he was last around.
Yeah, and some of their belief is like, why do they believe that he's not responsible for what people say he was? So there must be some people out there who believe that he wasn't responsible for the crimes but there's no suggestion that Harvey Dent was.
Where's the statue of Harvey Dent? Where's the statue of Harvey?
Yeah.
Like, that makes more sense to me.
Well, you have the big pictures, don't you? You have the big, like, oh, they have Harvey Dent Day.
I believe in Harvey Dent.
They have Harvey Dent Day.
I want to tell you all the truth about Harvey Dent. Now's not that day. And no one at that speech goes, wait, Gordon, what did you mean by that? That you want to tell the truth, but instead you'll say this. Like, you said that on mic in front of everyone. What do you mean by that, Gordon? Oldman, bless him, tries so hard with probably his most useless story arc and scene work in this. Like, he's trying so hard.
Does he keep his speech with him all the time?
Well, apparently, yes. That's how Bane, because Bane takes it off of him and then holds on to it for a few months, like for a couple months. And then during the occupation of Gotham, lets out the Blackgate prison. Because this is the one bit where Nolan fucks up with time in this. Not by choice this time. Like, he it just several times he forgets how chronology works within progression of events. So the Blackgate freeing up. Was that you then? That weird beep?
Yeah, that was my tablet.
Oh, I thought it was Bane outside.
No, it wasn't Bane.
Matthew, I'm going for a Mr. Whippy. Would you like a flick?
No.
No, our Mr. Whippy showed up yesterday at 8:45 at night. Too fucking late, mate. At this point, everyone's in their pants, sat in front of a fan, feeling horrible for themselves. But anyway, so Bane releases the Blackgate prisoners. It's implied a few weeks, if not a bit later, into the occupation of Gotham, because Gordon and Blake have managed to team up by this point and get Gordon to Blake's apartment. Where's Gordon's family?
They say that his wife left him. She went to Cleveland with the kids.
Right.
Because he's such a workaholic.
For Christ's sake. Oh, I hate that story trope. I hate that story trope so much. It's mostly inherited from 90s kids films, where a dad learns through supernatural contrivance to spend more time with their kids, despite the fact that they already spend a lot of time with their kids. They just occasionally have to go to work. It's just Liar Liar, fucking Dr. Dolittle, they're all the same bastard film.
They already spend a lot of time with their kids, but they just don't love them enough.
The Santa Claus. He spends a lot of time with his kid, and then do you know what he's doing the rest of the time? Working, so he can put food on the table for his fucking kid. Yeah. Oh, it's so stupid.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing with capitalism. You've got to work, but you can't work too much. Because if you work too much, then you'll neglect your family. And if you neglect your family, then you won't raise good capitalist children.
What's also interesting in a lot of these is the wife in a lot of these movies as well is a stay-at-home mom, which means that the husband in the movies is working obviously a really high salary job to be able to do that and support that and give their wife, the freedom that they obviously are up for taking so that they can be full-time mom and stay-at-home mom and everything. And it's that's awesome. But then it's usually the wife who's you've got to spend more time with your son. It's honey, I'm the only person working.
Yeah, I'm the only person bringing in a wage.
The fuck do you want me to do? Suddenly gain the ability to not be able to tell a lie and learn through supernatural contrivance to spend more time with my damn wiener kid?
I want you to work less and earn the same amount of money or more.
Yes! So that's happened with Gordon. They've nerfed Gordon's family relationship. Again, his family being a massively important part of his motivations in this film. If they'd made a point of them leaving him, made him realise no, my life got shattered anyway. No matter what, my life got torn apart. I doubled down because of what happened with Harvey, and it's driven me and my family apart. And I'm now at the point where I'm why am I holding on to this secret? I need to tell people. It's eating me up inside. Holding on to the secret has done fuck all for me. It kept my family safe, but now I've lost them again. They could have made that a narrative thing. There's so many missed chances in this for character motivation.
Yeah, but the film's already full of other stuff.
Yeah. Oh crap. Well, I'm gonna take a little peek at my notes. Some of these are set toward the end, but I just want to spew out random thoughts for this one because oh good lord,
that's fair.
So toward the end, the bomb, the big old bomb.
Somebody settles up the bomb.
Yeah, some days he should have said that. Fucking hell, he should have said that at some point. I would
just can't get rid of a bomb.
I would forgive this film everything. I'm not even joking. I would be that shallow. I would forgive this film everything if at some point Nolan or Bale had put in that last scene a moment where Christopher Nolan's Batman, played by Christian Bale, in his fucking body armor, with his growly voice.
And his 15 that he does to him when he's speaking to himself. He still does.
Oh, his delivery in that voice is awful. Every line he delivers in that voice is terrible, but we'll get into that. In a way where it's every line he delivers when he's not doing that voice, you're you are a fucking phenomenal actor. There's a reason why Hollywood keeps hiring you. You are brilliant at what you do. And then he does a line in that voice and you go, you can't act when you're putting on this voice. So that's what it feels like. What was that? What was that line read? Can we get another one?
Why are you speaking to yourself in the Bat voice?
Plus that. But yeah, if Christian Bale or Chris Nolan had put in a moment during that last bit where Christian Bale's Batman quoted the 1966 Batman the movie scene where Adam West is running around with a giant cartoon bomb trying to lob it off of a pier to keep everyone safe.
With a big fuse.
A big old fuse, and he can't quite find the right. He's about to throw it in the water. There are ducks with ducklings going by. He goes to the other side, and there's a romantic couple kissing in a boat, and he can't throw it in. There's like a troop of nuns like getting his way while he's trying to run out of the way. And he just, at one point, takes a moment. If you haven't seen this movie, listener, go watch it. It's fucking wonderful.
It's so good.
It is wonderful.
So
it's a comedy movie, and it is a perfect comedy movie, and it's great. A little overlong. I'm going to say it. It is a little overlong. It could do with a 15-minute trim, but it is bloody brilliant. It involves the best comedy shit deduction scene in all of cinema, where Batman, Robin, Chief O'Hara, and Commissioner Gordon work out the exact 4 villains involved in the crime based off of no evidence. It's so good. Like, I mean, they literally figure out Catwoman's involved because they realise a letter from a word in the clue is the letter C. No, it's not even that. They're talking about the C. C! The letter C! Catwoman! It's brilliant. But anyway, he says at one point, running around trying to get rid of this giant cartoon bomb, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb, he says to himself. Now, if fucking Christian Bale's Batman had said that to himself at least once, I would, completely shallowly, forgive this movie every single one of its problems. If just before he decides he has to fly out with the bomb, he goes, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. I would have stood up in the cinema, taken my shirt off, applauded, and bowed down to this film. I would have tattooed it at that moment on my chest, on my pale fucking chest, and I would have been very happy. I would have been happy. And I would have declared it the best movie ever made. And then I would have died, because that's the only option in life. Died a martyr.
If, like, towards the end you've had that scene where he's like, I've got to take the bomb away, and Gordon or someone's just like, well, you can't just get rid of a bomb. I would have accepted that, but I wouldn't have forgiven it all of its ills. I would have just been like, well, a little cheeky nod. You can't just get rid of a bomb. It's like, yes, I can. I'm Batman.
I'm bomb disposal man. So that bomb takes 5 minutes of the countdown. Now, this happens a lot. Countdowns in films don't always operate in real time, especially if you cut in between things, because that's just how it is. The countdown is there to remind the viewer that there are stakes and there is a ticking clock involved. But sometimes you'll have a character having a conversation and it will only have gone down a certain amount or whatever. From Gordon getting in the truck to try and put the disruptor on it to disarm the frequency to give them more time, the countdown goes from 11 minutes when he first gets in that truck, 11 minutes something. Yeah. And then we have the whole last part of the fight with Bane and the reveal of Talia and all this and and the knife is the slow knife, the knife that slips in between the bones and all this stuff. You have all that and her declaration of this, that and the other. And that's about 3-4 minutes of screen time. Mm-hmm. And then we cut back to Gordon and the bomb's gone down by about 40 seconds. It's at 10 minutes something. And I'm like, The only reason that bothers me is because not 5 minutes after that, the Bat gets involved in the chase. Like when Batman gets away from it and he's in the vehicle and he's pursuing the vehicles. And at the start of that, we establish the bomb is still at the 10-ish minute mark. And in this time, Catwoman's, like, Talia's gotten away, Catwoman's rocked up on the pod, shot Bane to death. Which I don't know if I love or hate how unceremonious his death is. I think I love it, but it's all for a one-liner that's shit. But anyway, it's still at 10 minutes, so I'm like, you're really playing with thingy, because during the scene with Talia, she like tries to do the detonation. It doesn't work because the frequency emitters like cut it off, and she goes, no matter, you've only bought Gotham 11 more minutes. Which means she knows there's like just under 11 minutes still to go on the bomb. So from that moment, there is 11 minutes to go. Clearly 5 or 10 minutes later, it's at the 10-minute mark when the Bat joins the chase. That chase happens in real time from that moment on. Everything that's happening is happening in real time, with the tumblers attacking the Bat and the Bat firing at the tumblers and this and the other. That's all happening in real time. In 1 minute, just 1 minute and change of real-time action, that bomb goes from 10 minutes something to 5 minutes something. It really pissed me off. I was like, they missed something in the edit. I mean, it's a complex sequence to edit. But all you had to do was, at the start of the timer for that chase, cut to the timer, and it's at like 7 minutes now. Not another reaffirmation that it's been 10 minutes. It's still at 10 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
just
like,
don't keep cutting back to the timer.
Yeah.
Just stop cutting back to the timer.
It's so bizarre. Like, ticking clocks are there to make the viewer go, oh shit, they're running out of time. But if you keep showing us, well, actually, time paused there for a bit. Oh, time paused again. Oh, now it's jumped. You'd be like, what?
Yeah, if you don't remind people, the audience, of that, they will forget.
Yeah, and then if you give them numbers
and you can get away with fudging it.
If you give them numbers that clash with your previous ones,
much.
Yeah, by cutting back, it just here. Also, especially in that last 40 minutes, the aspect ratio switching is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because
For sure.
it's no longer, we use the IMAX cameras to shoot the action scenes. It's, we just used them when we could get them on set, I guess.
Yeah, it's really arbitrary what is and isn't in IMAX.
In The Dark Knight, it's mostly
really
action set
strange.
pieces. Like, it's significantly is in the heist at the beginning. It's in the apprehension of the acquiring of the kidnapping of Mr. Lau in Hong Kong. It's in the tunnel chase with the tumbler and the bat pod and the trucks and the bazookas.
Yep.
And it's in it's used not as much, but it's in the finale, like in the construction site and everything. Like, it's used a lot during that sequence. And then occasionally it's used for like establishing shots of Gotham.
Yeah.
In this,
or whichever city is standing in for Gotham this week.
Kids cheering at the school bus. That's not in IMAX, but Blake stood in front of the school bus a few feet looking at the city. That's in IMAX for some reason.
Very weird.
Wide shot of the bridge blowing up.
Weird.
That's not in IMAX, but the cops talking about blowing it up. That's in IMAX. And sometimes in the same scene. So like the setting, so like people looking at monitors are suddenly in IMAX, but then the next cut is in the same. It's them in that monitor room from a different angle, and they're not. Like,
it's really messy.
What
it's
is
really
happening?
messy, and I don't understand it.
It's just shoot the whole fucking thing in IMAX if you really must. Or shoot your opening in IMAX and your ending in IMAX, and don't do it throughout the rest of the movie, so it's a bookend at least. It kind of visually in your brain as a viewer, like as the fictional character Plinkett says, you may not have noticed it, but your brain did. Like, there are things, visual language in film that you don't pick up on as a viewer because they're not in focus. They're just there. And at least doing that, IMAX sequence at the beginning and IMAX sequence at the end would mentally feel like a bookend. Be like, oh, here's the start, and here's the finish. Doing it and it's made me want to. It's made me want to. Because what films has he released since? Inception was between Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises.
Was in between. After this was Interstellar.
Interstellar, yeah, I've not got that one.
Then,
but
Dunkirk.
Dunkirk. So it's made me want to.
And now Tenet.
I've not seen Dunkirk yet, but it's made me want to rewatch, in particular, Inception and Dunkirk, because I want to see between the Dark Knight movies what the fuck he was doing in that one, whether or not the IMAX stuff is played with that freely.
I don't remember it being.
But I also want to see his most recent film prior to Tenet, because I'm not going out in a fucking pandemic to watch your stupid movie. I want to see if 1917... Dunkirk, sorry. See, all these World War I movies, Jesus. I want to see Dunkirk and see if it cuts in between as frequently in that as well. Do you know what I mean? Because,
well, Dunkirk's weird because it's 3 timelines on 3 different scales that intercut.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a Nolan thing at all.
It's like 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, and they all intercut. As if they're taking place at the same time.
Of course. Of course. That was definitely that was a definite valid inclusion of the Bane voice. I only noticed on this watch 2 things. One, at no point do they ever explain Bane's visual aesthetic aside from the mask helps ease the pain. So then that's only dropped in so that Batman then in their final fist fight focuses on his mask and just starts punching his head.
Enough though. I think that's all you need.
True, but it's also like, why? What? I mean, is it only all we need because we tangentially know of the Bane of old, so we kind of get the idea of like, oh, he usually has a thing rigged up to him in some way. In the comics, it's a steroid. In this, it's a pain relief. It's a drug to lower the nerve damage, basically, in his face, apparently, or his body.
They explained that he was horribly injured and he is covered in scars. The prison doctor fucked it up when trying to put him back together, quote unquote. And the mask just keeps him moving.
Yeah, but
it's also an efficient thing to do because if it's aerosolized, you're constantly breathing it in. But if you don't want tubes going to other places because they're more vulnerable.
Well, that's on this watch, and I'd never noticed it before. The scar down his back.
Yeah.
Like, the tubes are there, they're just in his body.
I don't think they're tubes in his body. I think they're just scars from when he was where he was injured.
There's like a weird kind of circular scar right beneath the mask, and then it's this vertical scar that's like a little lumpy bumpy, but it goes all the way down his back from his mask. So it's like, so he has a means of, because he's not got any, there's nothing on the mask where he could insert something to inhale it. Like, there's nothing on, and that's what I was kind of thinking when I realised.
I figured that was the little tube, the little tubes that are his quote sort of teeth.
But when does he all it takes is one moment to see him resupplying. Like, just one little moment. Because when you first see him in the sewer and he's all topless and crouched down for reasons, I thought that'd be it. I looked really carefully at it. I was like, is there a pouch on him somewhere? Does he have something where the tube attaches to? Because he obviously, if he has this tube going down his back, it has to come out somewhere and be attached to something. Like a stoma. Do you know what I mean? Like, people use a stoma bag. Like, you, essentially something is put in your body that you can then attach. Or like a lot of people with type 1 diabetes have like those pads that you can click something onto or put put the stuff you need into it. So like, where's that on Bane? And there's nothing. I'm like, just show us one scene where he like pours some liquid or grinds up something into a pouch and then just seals it. And we're like, oh, that's what he's taking. Okay. But I also find it weird that Nolan's interpretation is no. A steroid, that's, people won't believe that. Now, an anesthetic, an antibiotic, like, we'll give him that. People will believe that. It's like, what? What makes Bane interesting is the fact that he's already capable as Feck, but he's grown, he became so through the misuse of this drug and is now sort of dependent on it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes Bane interesting. He's a master and I think, as far as the characterization of Bane, like what he's about, how he can do things and everything, this is probably the best portrayal of him outside of the comics. Like, it nails the master tactician.
Yeah.
Like, that is who
That's
he
what I mean
is.
about,
He's
I
18
really
steps ahead of everyone, including Batman, who's usually 18 steps ahead of everyone. Like, Bane's like, oh, like, I'm 28 bastard steps ahead of you, motherfucker. Like, that's what Bane is. But it just sort of is like, okay, but why get rid of the one thing that sort of then makes him stand out from any other well-organised mercenary in television and film? Do you know what I mean? Like, why do that? Like, I guess it's because they wanted to keep the Mucha Lucha mask, but they didn't want to give him a wrestler look. So they were like, well, we've got to give him a mask. Well, why is he wearing a mask? He needs to breathe something in. Venom? Nah, just fucking pain relief. All right, cool, let's do that. It's like, why? It serves the fake out of the child of Ra's al Ghul well. Because we get the idea that, like, oh shit, Bane's the son of the demon. Like, oh shit, like they're bookending that movie. Okay,
which is a neat way to do it, I suppose, if you want to compress a bunch of different concepts into an adaptation.
And also, I realised in the flashbacks for this, obviously they cut the young Talia's hair super short and cast somebody who was sort of like, not quite a teen yet, so it could be nondescript enough to kind of bamboozle you a bit into thinking it's a young boy, and then it's like, no, actually, it's a young girl. But it made me realise when you finally started to see like the shots of young Talia, I realised not only, oh shit, it's actress Joey King, who's in a shitload of films and TV now.
Is it?
It's Joey King, which then made me go like, holy shit, young Joey King. I believe that's a young Marion Cotillard. Yeah, she's the spit of her. That is nuts.
Okay.
But yeah, I wish Hardy hadn't done the voice. I wish he'd picked a different voice. Just a different accent. I think he's doing it to disarm
I don't mind
you.
the voice. I think it just is in the wrong film.
I think he's doing it to disarm the viewer, to make you go, oh, he sounds like a... Because when you break down the accent, you break it all down. Like,
it sounds like this.
The whole, what's it?
Now is not the time for fear, that comes later.
You remove the filter, and it's suddenly like, right, now is not the time for fear, that comes later. You remove a little bit of the, I'm putting a thing on in my voice. And it's, now is not the time for fear, that comes later. So he's a very well-spoken, RP accented British voice. So essentially, he's like, hello, I am Bane, and I'm here to break the Batman. Good day to you. You know what I mean? I'm obviously not talking like that, but like, so it's an RP voice. It's a like it's a lord like speaking to his people. Like that's the kind of voice he's gone for, and it's like, okay. That raises even more fucking questions. Yeah. And I guess he's done it because he wanted you to be disarmed. Because you see this big brutish motherfucker in the trailers and stuff. And you expect him to be like, I am Bane. I like go for the original kind of like the Colombian or South American accent for Bane. Yeah. And instead you're hearing this, hello, like I am Bane. And you're like, oh shit. But his voice shouldn't be what disarms us, really. We shouldn't feel disarmed around Bane. We should feel fucking terrified around Bane. Like, if you're in a room with Bane, you shouldn't be like, the fuck is this guy's deal? You should be like, the fuck is this guy? Like, you should be scared of him, not going, wait, what? Like, when he opens his mouth. It's odd. It's really odd. And had he just changed the accent, I think it would be less odd. I think it would feel a little more in this universe. Maybe. Like, gone for the South American accent, or even just his natural voice, like is sort of like, because what he's sort of got like a very velvety Cockney tone, hasn't he? Does Hardy? It's like even that, because then you're still feeding into an archetype of kind of the big brutish character.
Yeah,
but the thing that is, because that's the other thing. The thing that is offsetting you is the filter. Doing a silly voice under that is just an extra layer of wait, what? What are you doing? And maybe that's why it feels like out of place in this film. Again, it's a really cool performance from him, I presume, because they clearly fucking dubbed all of his lines, despite what they say. Or like you say, maybe it's a different sound mix, but if that's the case, did they have a mic in the mask to capture, to grab his original delivery on set?
I think it was probably all dubbed.
Must have been.
Just for cleanliness.
Especially in the fight scene. Especially in the fight scene in the tunnels. Yeah. He just sounds like he's like having a bash at it in a sound booth. Like it doesn't sound like it belongs there. The whole what the fuck is the thing he says, like, thinking as we can do, or whatever it is, like all that shit. Like that doesn't sound like it belongs in that room. Victory has defeated you. It's like, the fuck are you doing? Like you've just been punching him. Like, why would you be like, hey, I'm having a good old time here? Like it's
See, but I that's what I mean. I like that version of the character, and I like the disconnect of the voice and the appearance. It's just in the wrong film.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the film is so tonally, supposedly tonally grounded.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite work. This would fit that version of Bane would fit into an MCU film with its sort of lighter tone, no problem. But because this is taking itself so painfully seriously, it just doesn't work.
That version of Bane would fit into a sequel to Batman Begins.
Yeah.
It'd be like, yeah, I buy this, sure. But like a sequel to The Dark Knight that believes its own shit is just sort of... It's odd. It's so odd. And yet Hathaway kind of... She's playing a comic book character.
Yeah, definitely.
But she's not shying away from the fact you can be serious whilst doing that.
Well, I think,
and also it helps it also really helps set up how scary and serious things are when this femme fatale cat burglar archetype suddenly sort of is in those moments where she's like, "No, you don't understand. Like, we need to get out of." Like, suddenly you realize that in universe, her meow shit even though she never says it, really, which is a shame. But, like, even in universe, her meow persona is a performance. And she's like, no, seriously, we need to get the fuck out of here. He will kill you. Do you know what I mean? It benefits the film that way. Like, because suddenly you're like, oh, she's having a comic book movie. No, but seriously, these stakes are really high. I'm not putting up with this shit anymore. Get on your bike, leave with me. Let's go to Europe. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
She's brilliant. And we've talked about it before. The reason why she's brilliant is because she was ahead of everyone else. Because even though everyone else, there's a lot of actors returning in this, but there's a lot of brand new performers in this film. But she's ahead of everyone else with this characterization because she clearly is channeling the work she put in for the several months of pre-production for Spider-Man 4.
Yeah.
She was cast as Felicia Hardy. They said that she was going to be playing a psychic to the Vulture, and like there was the design name bandied around was Vultress, and the whole idea was Hardy was going to be helping him with his burglaries. But if you put Felicia Hardy in a movie and you've got a classic Spider-Man fan like Sam Raimi making it, she was inevitably going to go Black Cat at some point.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So she's obviously worked at that. That film gets shit canned in sort of mid-2010 is when Sam Raimi's like, look, just do your reboot. I already know you're planning it under my nose. I'm off, bye. And him and Tobey Maguire walk from the project. And it all wraps up. And suddenly Malkovich and Hathaway have gaps in their schedule. You know that was... Well, I've basically just like auditioned and got cast as and started pre-pro costume fittings for the knockoff Catwoman. Do you want me for Catwoman? It's like, yeah, sure, let's get you in.
All right.
Because the fun of that archetype is there in the first hour or so of this movie. And also the massive nod to Returns, whether they meant it or not. The ballroom conversation.
Yeah.
It's a huge nod to Batman Returns. Except without Susie and the Banshees or the whole like, do we have to fight now? Like moment of, oh shit. Like, what do we do?
Well,
which is a great scene in Returns where they're just like, do we stop dancing and fight to the death? Like, what happens now?
It's yet another reason, as I've said many times, that Batman Returns is the best Batman film.
Lego Batman. Followed by Mask by Mask of the Phantasm.
A case could be made. But yeah, I think
blankety blink, blink, blink.
Stop. I think it's a difference in the scale of the characters though as well. Like because a Catwoman is a relatively grounded, not necessarily powered character.
Yeah, she's not.
You can have fun with her and not be and not go full on comic book weird. But Bane's fucking Bane.
Yeah, he's comic book weird. I mean,
the weirdness of that character kind of lends itself to
a less self-serious film
portrayal.
Yeah.
So it's.
Do you think that's what Venom is? Do you think that's why Hardy was really gunning for Venom? Because he was like, look, I wanted to let my freak flag fly with this, and that film really didn't let me. So can I do it in this one?
I think he's clearly an actor who just likes to fuck around.
Get the props team to really quickly make a fake lobster so he can improvise a scene in a fucking lobster tank.
I think he's just an actor who likes to. He clearly does like to do serious stuff, but he also clearly just likes to fuck around and be silly.
Yeah,
and I think he does a little bit of that in here, but he's reined in by Nolan. But I think if Nolan had let him go a little bit further with it and also pushed everyone else in that direction, I think the film would hold together a lot better.
Yeah.
I think it's still got serious structural and pacing issues. Like, all the stuff in the prison is fucking interminable. Oh, why does he have to fail the climb twice before getting it right? Why does
he fix his broken back with some rope therapy over 6 months and is now able to like fight and fly and glide, and it's mental. Like, just don't. I know you want to homage it. Don't break his back. Just wound him really badly. Like, do that moment, but you've established that his suit is fucking body armor. Like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's just like the reason Bane breaks Batman's back in the Nightfall arc is A, the big shock value of this big event, and B, because Bane's hopped up on fucking Venom. Like, as that fight starts, he's like, I've worn you down, and now I get the pleasure of killing you. And he cranks up the Venom, and he beats the shit out of Batman in his own home. Can we talk about the how the homages become a patchwork quilt in this one. We touched on it last week. The previous two stories use inspiration from the comics, but they kind of they use them well because they get the thematics of the inspiration. So, like, Year One is adapted very loosely in Batman Begins. And it touches on some stuff from Long Halloween, Haunted Night. Not Haunted Night, sorry. What's the sequel to Long Halloween? Haunted Nights in that.
Dark Victory.
Dark Victory, that's it. It touches on stuff from that in terms of like the Falcones and those that kind of angle. Like, you know, it's in there, and Long Halloween is not adapted, but obviously an inspiration for Harvey Dent's turn in Dark Knight, and also the idea of like this almost gauntlet of events that lead to certain things over the course of time, and la la la.
Yeah.
This film doesn't use the thematics of the things it's touching on. It's almost just going, let's reference as many comics as we can, so the comic fans go, this is the best movie ever. Forgetting that the references aren't what make it good. Easter egg references, sure. Easter egg references, great. They don't make the product good, but they're appreciated. Like, oh, that's cool. Someone pointed out this morning that in Spider-Verse, during the bit where all the on the train toward the end were all the different Vanessas and oh god, what's Fisk's son called?
I can't remember.
Oh, it'll hit me. But during the bit where they appear really briefly, in the train, if you go frame by frame, in one reality, Vanessa is there and their son is a young Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck? Which, of course, Sony will deny because they don't own him. But it's like, it's the red hair, the glasses. You're like, that is fucking brilliant. Doesn't make the film a good film. The film's already a good film. Doesn't make the film a good film. But it's just like a little rich textured thing that makes you go, oh, that's tasty. And the first two Dark Knight movies do kind of do that. Like, they touch on things and you go, oh, that's tasty. Yeah. But then when they adapt stuff, they adapt it. The spirit of it, the point of it, the themes of it. This one just kind of goes, huh?
Yeah.
Do you see that?
It's like, oh, we blew up the bridges and blew up a bunch of street stuff. It's No Man's Land.
It's No Man's Land. But No Man's Land happens because of Nightfall, kinda. Where Bane shows up, wears Batman down, and breaks his back. Okay? But also Vengeance of Bane. But it's Bruce in that story instead of Bane. It's him in the prison. Okay. But also, Son of the Demon. We're going to learn about, like, the history of the Al Ghuls. Right?
But not really.
But also the Cult. You remember the Cult? Not many people, as you think, read the Cult. Do you remember that bit where all the corpses are hanging from the bridge in the Cult? That's from the Cult. It's like, okay. Right.
Yeah.
It's just, do you remember the trial from Batman the Animated Series? Yeah? Well, not that, but Scarecrow's the judge. So it's kind of that. Right? What?
I do like the trial scenes with like the jumped up like revolutionary court.
I think that's fun, but like, why Crane? I'll tell you why Crane. Because Nightfall. They want you to be like, all the villains are involved.
Yeah.
Well, Scarecrow's here, but that's it.
Also, Christopher Nolan likes
Cillian Murphy. Please, considering he's judge, jury, and executioner, all you needed, because he's got the only visual signifier that it's Scarecrow for anyone who just sort of doesn't quite realise that's the guy from the last two films, is that his suit jacket is frayed in a way that looks a little like straw on one sleeve.
Yeah.
Why didn't they put a noose round his neck? The Scarecrow mask has a noose round it, and he's judge, jury, and executioner. Put the noose round his neck, like he's wearing it like a tie. Like, there you go. Scarecrow.
Just have him wearing the mask and a gown and a
just have
judge's wig.
Just have the fucking mask on the podium.
Yeah.
Just have it there. And maybe that's what.
Why
Maybe
not?
that's the muffle for his gavel. He's just smacking the mask, or he lays the gavel on the mask when he's not holding it. Like, you know, just something. It's almost like they're too scared to do it. And it's like, if you're gonna reference Nightfall, either adapt it beyond just the premise of Bane breaks Batman's back, or don't. Just fucking don't do it. Now, they have said, they've never gone into full detail, Ledger was in a draft of this script. The Joker was never going to be the main villain, but the Joker was going to appear in the third film. Which makes me think they were always going to do Bane, and they were always going to do a version of Nightfall.
I mean, the whole League of Shadows stuff does bring it full circle with Begins.
Yeah,
so.
but it would make more... Which was good, because then this one could have been, it's a mashup of the previous two. Like, we're referencing both the previous two movies to make a conclusion. And that makes sense, because you could have had, you could have done Nightfall to a point where it's like, something's going on since all... The Blackgate breakout would have happened pre-Batman's back being broken. So it would have been like, something goes on with Scarecrow and he has to deal with that. Something goes on with Joker and he has to deal with that. And then Bane happens. And it's like, okay. Yeah. And, and you can imagine, like, Scarecrow's just going along with it because he's like, I'm out of prison. Fucking great. Here we go. Like, Joker would have gone along with it because he's like, this is hilarious. Like, look at how you're reacting. This is great. Of course I'm going to get involved in this shit. This is fantastic. Yeah. And then you could have had for those who didn't like the tactician Joker of Dark Knight, then there's your Joker who's just, fuck it. This is hilarious. Like, you could have had that. So I get it, but obviously we didn't have Ledger. There is the novelization of The Dark Knight Rises, because they still do those, folks. The novelizer, unless you're The Rise of Skywalker, in which case they postpone it and then cancel it, because it probably contained plot elements from the earlier drafts of the script which people had learnt about and preferred. In the novelization of The Dark Knight Rises, it is mentioned that I don't think they call him outright by name, but there is a patient in Arkham, because Arkham is also broken. People are broken out of Arkham at the same time as Blackgate. There is a patient who's been left in there because even the other criminals didn't want to let him out, and he watches the events unfurl on his monitor and smiles to himself. So they're kind of like going, Joker's still in Gotham, he's in Arkham, and he's just fine to sit back and watch. And it's like, okay. Sure, I believe that.
I'm enjoying this.
Because obviously The Dark Knight ends with, like, you and I are destined to do this forever, and he's locked up somewhere, and it's like, yeah, but for 8 years, you're telling me in 8 years the Joker's not got out and tried to coax Batman out of his imposed retirement. If you want to see a universe where that does happen, you've got a few hours, go check out the Joker blogs on YouTube, because what started as just a one-off 8-minute fan film, like, this would be kind of fun. Let's see what happens the first time he's sat down and interviewed after the events of The Dark Knight. And he's refused to talk to anybody until they give him some makeup. So he puts the makeup on, sits down, and actually takes an interview. Turns into a series, which is pretty fucking great. Like, all things considered.
Yeah, as fan projects go, it's definitely on the higher end.
It's not fan wank. It's, how can we tell a story with this? Let's see what happens. And the first part of it all takes place, like, in the months just after The Dark Knight. Minor spoiler alert, Batman does appear in the end of it. After the Joker's got out and done this basically very small, quiet serial killer with a hostage event on one night. Series 2 takes place a couple of years later. And you find out in that Batman has still been operating super on the QT. Like, no public sightings. Doesn't even look like Batman in Series 2, like it's the balaclava and stuff, so it's like he's out there doing shit still. I prefer that version of what happens after The Dark Knight to the Bruce Wayne we meet in this. Can we talk about the worst fucking aspect of this movie in terms of its wider story? Bruce Wayne loses his parents at a young age. It leads to 15 years of... No, it leads to, like, nearly 10 years of stewing resentment and hatred and bile, building up to the day where he nearly kills his parents' murderer in court in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. And he realises he could do more. And maybe it's me projecting on him, and I think it is just us projecting on him the Batman we know of the comics, but, like, he decides that he wants to save the day and stop that tragedy ever happening to other people. Whereas in the film, it's more, no, I want to give criminals what for. We talked about the fucking horrible morality of Batman Begins last week, but then he goes away for another 15 years, to the point where even his closest, like, family member...
7 years.
Is it 7? I thought it was like 15. Never mind.
Because on the plane, Alfred's like, you've been gone for 7 years.
You bastard. But like, so it's 7 years. Even his closest family member doesn't know he's still alive and out there in the world. Like, he has no idea. His closest childhood friend doesn't know that he's still alive and out there in the world. Everyone presumes him dead, but he buggers off and does this, all because of everything that's happened in his life up to that point. He goes away and becomes a trained weapon. He then operates as Batman based on the timeline of Begins in the Dark Knight for about a year, and then he disappears. And this film kind of implies that since that night, he's not been seen.
Yeah.
Meaning he's not been seen. He's reclused himself. Wayne Manor has finally been rebuilt in that time. And there's some really nice location shot usage in this. These rooms look new. They're in the old style, but they look new. And it's like, that is very well done. Like, the old style bookcases, but they're all painted like a modern kind of white, light grey aesthetic. And it's like, well done. That's some subtle... Applause to the set design team on this film. The sets always look fantastic. But it implies that he's been there for ages. He hasn't even uncovered half the furniture in his half of the bleeding house. Alfred has obviously got bored of the house being unoccupied between like galas and fundraisers and events and stuff, that he has like sheeted nearly everything in the manor that isn't in regular use. Alfred probably doesn't even live in Wayne Manor. He probably lives in a fucking house on the driveway at this point. He's like, sod you, I'm going down to my bloody house. So you've got that aspect of it. Bruce Wayne is retired. And the reason he's done it in this film, he makes it clear it's not because of Harvey. It's not because he's in hiding. It's because he failed Rachel and he's mourning the life they should have had. Of course, not knowing that Rachel was going to go on with Harvey and like Bruce needed to move the fuck on. I'm sorry. His parents die as a child, which leads him to a 30-plus year crusade to becoming a living weapon to fight the injustices of the world. But his best friend dies, and not because she's his best friend, but because he wanted to get romantically involved with her, even though that wasn't what she wanted. Dies. He becomes a mopey teenager doing bedroom archery for 8 years. I do not buy that for a single fucking second.
He's super self-centered, and which arguably Batman is anyway.
Yeah, but not like, I'm gonna mope for 8 years, like self-centered. He'd still get shit done. There is still the mission. And it's just like, really? This is where you are? And now Bane wants to make his point, and Talia, of course, because she turns out to be the real mastermind, the daughter of Ra's al Ghul. Yeah. Like, now she wants to make her play? For all she knows, Bruce is dead, for all she knows.
It's just, it's not interesting at all. It's just not interesting.
And what is Talia's plan? Like, we want to fulfill my dad's work, which was destroy Gotham on the world stage by having it tear itself apart to show how corrupt and horrible it is because he wants to get rid of all the corrupt cities in the world. What you're doing is having a very visible terrorist threat take Gotham hostage and then eventually just blow it up. Why not just blow Gotham up the moment you got your bomb into it? You've had the bomb
because they were
for the whole 8-month period
for the League of Shadows.
It's just so... But they're not, because they're working for the League of Shadows. They're working for Talia al Ghul.
Well, I think the implication is that there is no League of Shadows after Ra's al Ghul dies.
So if there's no League of Shadows, why are they filling out the League of Shadows mission? Why are they devoted? Why are they devoted to them if they were all cast out for being like wrong? Because Bruce was too much for the League of Shadows in the opposite way. Like, he wasn't like reveling in the murder and everything. He was like he was too pure for their mission statement. So like, if anything, Bane's got more in common with Bruce than he does with Talia. Like, what's happening? I'll tell you
Talia's why it all happens the way it does.
Talia's the villain because they think it's clever that they're tying it back to Begins. And also, surprise ending. That's why she's the villain.
Yeah.
Like, and Marion Cotillard as Miranda Tate is great. She's a pointless character, but she's doing great with the material she's given. And then when she gets to play Talia, she has more fun. You can see it. She's having more fun.
Yeah.
But then it's ultimately kind of pointless. Like, Talia dies thinking she's won.
The whole thing is kind of pointless. And I'll tell you why things happen the way they do.
Like, no villain gets their comeuppance.
Because that's what it says in the script, Chris. That's why it happens the way it does.
This is the first one that David S. Goyer did not do any writing on. Out of the three. Now, we are not defenders of Goyer. at all. Guy's a prick.
No, I've.
But he's co-written some good scripts.
Yeah, co-written being the operative word.
And without him, it's obvious what the Nolans brought to Begins and Dark Knight, which is the truisms, the philosophy spouting, and the idea of interconnectivity within the narrative of the trilogy they've built.
Structure is what they brought to it. Rigid structure.
Yeah, structure, narrative, plot structure, yes. Narrative structure, no.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's the mechanics of the plot, but not the...
They needed someone who writes fucking scripts to go, right, let me now frame it into a cohesive film instead of a 2.5 hour fest, which is what it kind of is.
They needed someone who writes dialogue that sounds like people who talk sound.
We've ragged on it. What do we like? I like Hathaway a lot.
I like a lot of the performances. I like Hardy's performance, even though it's in the wrong movie. I like Hathaway's performance. I
think the heels are impractical as fuck, and they only exist because they wanted that one kind of thing about, is it hard? Do those make it hard to walk? I don't know. You tell me. Like, I think that's the only reason they're there beyond that'd be kind of hot. Like, I think that's the only reason they're there. But I do like her costume. I like the fact that the cat ears is sort of a result of the goggles. Yeah, I think that's cute.
Nice.
Like
it's nice and subtle.
I would buy that in a movie where she's openly calling herself Catwoman. I would still buy them using that design. I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
Like, fair enough. I like Morgan Freeman. Lucius isn't used a lot in this, but when he is,
he's always got a twinkle.
He's always got a twinkle.
He's got that Morgan Freeman twinkle.
I like Marion Cotillard. I just don't care for either of the characters she plays.
There's a lot of great actors underserved by the script in this.
Bale, even Bale's kind of underserved, really, because he's just sort of stuff.
Michael Caine?
Stuff happens to Batman.
Yeah,
but the best delivery in it is the most underserved actor. Yeah, it's Caine. He's great in this, and he's not in it much.
He pops up at the start to be disapproving, then he pops up at the end to cry.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
The scene where he basically breaks up with Bruce is great. It's just a shame that it doesn't actually influence Bruce. Like, Alfred's like, I have to go for you to understand how wrong what you're doing is. I've got to fuck off, and hopefully you'll be like, I've pushed away my only friend. Like, to realise what you've done wrong. But he doesn't realise what he's done wrong. He learns his lesson way too late. And then he leads Alfred to believe he died. It's like, fuck you, Bruce. There's a point on that I'll get to. But there's one character we've barely talked about, which is Blake. Played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I like this character.
I like the character. Like we said earlier, it's better to show that, like, the cops aren't altogether like a pure force of good, but you can show that certain individuals are in that force because they want to save and protect people. Like, and he's a great avatar for that. He's absolutely like a cop born of the world Gordon has been trying to create. And it's like, cool. So he shows that Gordon's systematic change can work. Blake is a perfect example. Like what Gordon did, what Dent apparently did, and what Batman did when Blake was younger has inspired him to go like, I want to protect people. I want to be in the police and look after people. Yeah. And the fact that he goes against superiors, like when the CIA get involved and stuff, like the FBI, isn't it? It's the Bureau, they refer to them as briefly. Like I can't remember. When they get involved, the fact that Blake is even kind of like, no, shut up. Here's what we know. It doesn't come across as him being a petulant, like, shitty little officer. It comes across as him going, no, what you're doing is going to get more people killed. Fucking listen. Like, because everything he's doing because he knows it will save lives. Like, genuinely save lives. So he's like the only he's the only non-morally ambiguous character in the trilogy. Outside of maybe Alfred, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Like, he's he is a good person. He does not want people to die. He accidentally murders two criminals in a tussle, and is horrified by it. And again, it's all down to Joseph Gordon-Levitt's face. They don't even really let him talk about it. It's just, you see it and you go, he's like, what the fuck have I done? Like, and he realizes that, like, it's sort of emblematic of the world we've been plunged into is leading to, like, this could have been avoided.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Like, I need to be better. And after that, he starts arguing with authority if he thinks authority's in the wrong. And it's, you know, he's good. He's great. And I just fucking wish they'd been brave enough, considering he is basically a pseudo Robin. Like, he's the closest this trilogy's getting to Batman's sidekick.
You get that really fucking...
I wish they'd been brave enough to just...
cringy moment
at least
at the
just
end.
call him Tim Drake. His name's John Blake. Just call him Tim Drake. And then, to audiences who don't know that character, he's exactly as he was in the film. He's a random cop who believes in Batman, worked out Batman's identity on his own, off his own back.
Although, out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean,
like, purely on intuition.
Yeah, but, I mean, it pays off, because he could have showed up to that house, said that to Bruce Wayne, and then Bruce Wayne would be like, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. And he'd be like,
yeah,
it's just a hunch, Mr. Wayne, thank you for your time. But, like, you know, like, that's what Tim Drake did. That's how Tim Drake became Robin, because he figured out Batman and Nightwing's identities as a kid. So, you know, just call him Tim Drake. And then those who know Tim Drake go, all right, okay. Instead of that moment. I've written a paragraph about that moment in my notes.
Oh, God.
I'll read it quickly, but...
Please do.
As it happened, these were my thoughts.
We need to wrap this up soonish.
The Robin moment is completely fucking stupid. For those who don't know what we're talking about at the end, he's getting his license for whatever, blah, blah, blah.
It's revealed towards the end of the film that his middle name's Robin.
No, his first name's Robin.
His real name's Robin.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, you should use your real name. She hands the card back, and clearly an ADR goes, Robin. And it's like, fuck you, Nolan.
Yeah.
Fuck you, because Robin
good.
should be in the Batman story. Robin is a great element of Batman. Like, he can't belong in a realistic, gritty universe, really, which is why, at this point, because they've really believed their own realistic, gritty hype, he's not in it. But then to go, huh? It's like, no, just call him Tim Drake, and then we go, oh, cool, so this is this universe's version of Robin.
Yeah.
He's a police officer. Sure, okay. But the Robin moment's completely fucking stupid in so many ways. It breaks the film to grab geek kudos in the closing moments, so it disrupts the flow of that wrap-up.
Yeah.
But a real geek kudos would have been having a Robin in the film to begin with. It's one of the several off-camera ADR lines in that closing montage that suggest Nolan was keeping spoilers under wraps. There's several bits where people mention people by name in that closing montage off-camera in ADR. So they've shot it and gone, right, okay, we need you to say this, we say this, great. And then a few months later, they're like, can we just get a couple versions of this word, a couple versions of this line, a couple versions of this word? And then they've spliced it in, which is a technique used in a lot of big franchise films to avoid spoilers. Because they don't want actors...
The priest.
Yeah, they don't want actors to go like, oh, I shot a scene where I talked to Robin, like a year before the film comes out. So
it never comes up with the priest who presumably raised him.
Yeah.
As part of the orphanage.
Yeah. Fuck it. Oh, just... But it's not a spoiler for anything other than an Easter egg nod to Blake's role in the story. So it's not even important enough to really warrant a spoiler-free ADR session months later. It could be a payoff to a running bit in the film that his real name was something he shed when he left childcare or what have you. Like he just thought he wanted to take his identity. Like he did, like his parents who he never met named him, and he never thought that was fair because they didn't even stick around. So he chose a new name.
It would have been perfect if something like that, like an offhand line about him changing his name, had come up with the priest who runs the orphanage.
Yeah, exactly. Like like you even changed your name. Like and he's like, I didn't, my parents who didn't give a shit about me called me something. They don't deserve to give me a name. Like I picked my own name, and someone's just like, your real name's quite, your real name's nice. You don't meet, or should say, it's like you don't meet many people called Robin. And then it's more of a like, oh sweet, his name's quite a bit, unique and a bit adorable, a bit dorky. and also serves as Robin, nice. Like, and there you go. Like, make it a payoff to something, but it just, as I say here, it just happens.
It just happens.
It's weird. It'd be like if Avengers was the first appearance of Captain America, and during like the fight in New York, like a kid throws a Chitauri and distracts it, and Captain America bashes the alien away, and then he turns around and says, "Thanks, kid. What's your name?" And the kid goes, "Bucky Barnes." And he's just like, do you know what I mean? It'd just be like, the fuck? Why did that happen? It'd just be so...
Yeah.
It's odd. I like the implication that, you know, Batman is something more, Batman's a symbol, is actually paid off in this when Bruce presumably dies. He leaves the breadcrumb trail for Blake to discover the Batcave.
I would have liked to
the most minimalistic Batcave we've ever had in anything ever.
Yeah.
A couple of computer banks and a
everything's
bridge.
In the floor. Everything's in the floor. I'd have liked to see a version of Batman that is a legacy character.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't mind seeing a Batman on film that is not Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, why not? I mean, fuck it. Just, they have the chance to do that now. They could do Terry McGinnis. Do it in the DCEU. Like, Affleck don't want to carry on. Great, pay him a certain amount to rock up for one more film to hand on the mantle to Terry McGinnis. And then Marvel are ahead of the game here. They're already doing it. We're getting legacy characters in the films. People who are taking up the mantle after the characters have retired or stepped down. Like, even in the Disney Plus shows, we're getting it with Hawkeye. Clint Barton's about to hand over to Kate Bishop in the Disney Plus shows. Like, you know, Captain America's now Sam Wilson. Like, it's... Marvel got there first, motherfuckers. The idea of legacy heroes on film. But, you know, Nolan touches on it here. I like the fact that they're like, Batman's more than a symbol. And before he leaves, he obviously fixes up the bat signal. So Gordon gets the roof and he's like, the fuck? What? Like, that's kind of cool.
The autopilot sequence.
Oh, Jesus.
They fixed the autopilot.
Yeah, someone patched it up 6 months ago. Bruce Wayne... Which means that Bruce makes the illusions, the autopilot not working in the third act, just to set up to everyone that he's going to go missing.
Yeah.
So where the fuck is he then? In that shot, where he apparently managed to get out of the cockpit. Where is he?
Who knows?
It would imply that he's somewhere else. Like, he's somehow in that, like, minute between, like, Bruce Wayne? As he flies off. In that minute... that he disappeared out of the bat and got in a fucking remote control cockpit somewhere. Like, it
just turn the autopilot on and eject it.
But again, I watched that shot. Like, just for this, I went through that shot. There is no Cloverfield moment of something in the back of shot dropping. And even if there was, that blast radius at the end is huge. It is huge. It mushroom clouds the coast. He'd be dead. He would be dead. It's.
And there are some people who are like, oh, well, he is dead because that bit at the end with Alfred is just him seeing what he wants to see.
No,
like there's no that's not the kind of movie this is.
He repairs the bat symbol. He leaves breadcrumbs for Blake. He obviously ahead of it redoes his will so that the house becomes a child care home. But also,
which is nice.
Also the structure, which is great, and it's Bruce Wayne would absolutely do that. And the structures behind need to be left alone. Like that's to be done with. Like, Alfred Pennyworth is in charge of if anything ever happens to that, which means, of course, John Blake can operate from there without ever getting found or caught, which is like great idea. Yep. Fox presumably will be notified that there's someone else now operating the Batman thing who might occasionally work with him. Or maybe he's got it so that Fox has no idea, so that like the culpability's gone, like Fox can't be roped into anything if it all goes to shit.
Yeah. And
Alfred has presumably either retired to Europe or just decided to go on holiday to France to that favourite spot to clear his head. Because
he says he takes that holiday every year.
Yeah.
Or he did when Bruce was missing, so I assume he picked that tradition up again.
Now, my last note is we should never have cut to Bruce in that cafe.
No.
I think the only reason they do it is because they want to show you that he's with Selena. That's the only reason. Which is, again, the shot's very well done. Hathaway's like looking at someone off in the corner and she's completely out of focus, but it's clearly her. So it's like, oh, he found someone. The two of them are kindred spirits. They've fucked off into Europe, both presumed dead, and they're going to live their life. Fuck, Selena's mate, played by Juno Temple. Fuck her. Like, she doesn't get to find out what happened to her mate. It just... If you wanted to show Hathaway, it's simple. You show it from Bruce's, not POV shot, but from his point of view, looking at Alfred, and you just see a drink just raise up slightly and shot. And then you watch from that POV Alfred get up and leave, and you close the film. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, we're just saying to the audience, he's alive. He's out there. Don't you worry. And they're not even gonna talk. Like he said, not even gonna talk, just like Alfred's thing. Just, I knew you were okay and you were happy. And that's enough. It's like, there you go. But I'll be honest, after what he put him through, Alfred should have just run over and be like, the bloody fuck were you doing? I thought you bloody died. You little fuck. I would bitch slap you. You're not too old to put across my knee.
You break this poor motherfucker's heart.
Just pick him up and break him on his knee. I will raise you up and I will break you, Master Wayne.
Yeah, it's rough, man.
You shouldn't have shown Bruce. We as an audience are intelligent enough to go, oh.
Well, no, we're not, though. I mean, me and you are. A lot of the audience, not so much, as it turns out.
Also, Ben getting shot with a gun as his ending is, like I said, both very anticlimactic, but also weirdly hilarious by accident.
Well, I think it's
especially because he was about to shotgun blast Batman in the face, in the mouth.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I think that's why it worked, because as soon as he picks up a gun to take on Batman with, he then gets as soon as he sort of breaks his rule, then Batman's rule is broken with his stuff. So thematically, I guess it kind of works.
Yeah,
better than most of the other thematic things in this film, anyway.
But it's all in service of a shit one-liner where Selena's basically like, "Your whole no guns thing, I'm not sure I agree." It's like, okay, should we go save the city, or are we gonna do some one-liners?
Hathaway sells it, though.
Whilst Batman is choked by a rope, is he? There's this whole thing where they like put this rope round his neck to hold him still, but he's got a knife in his fucking ribs. Like, he's not moving. He's not going anywhere.
Well, he does a lot of things. Also, he kind of forgets about that knife in the rib after that scene.
I know. Oh God. But if you want better versions of all the scenes from this movie, ladies and gentlemen, just go look up the Badman compilation on College Humor, starring Pete Holmes. This is the one film where they do direct scenes from it. Like, all their stuff was just sort of Nolan inspired, apart from a Scarecrow scene, which is based on the bit in Batman Begins in the apartment before he lights him up. And then they're like, where are the other drugs going? They do that scene. But for Dark Knight Rises, there's like 4 scenes where they just do a version of a scene from the film, and they are fucking wonderful. They're just so bad. Like, on purpose, obviously. It's like, this is what happens if Batman's a fucking moron. But the Talia scene in particular is really good, like the reveal scene with the knife. And then watch the outtakes. And then thank me because you watch those instead of revisiting The Dark Knight Rises.
But hey, some people like it.
Yeah.
Who are we to judge?
Have we been too harsh? Do you agree with some of our points? Do you think we're insane? We are.
Please let us know.
Because
bigdamncontact@gmail.com.
No opinion is wrong. So, let's hear some different ones. What did you guys think of The Dark Knight Rises?
Tell us.
You can also tweet us with @BigDamnCast.
Yes.
Matt does things with his thumbs. Naughty things on twitch.tv/BigDamnstream. With Adventures in Backlogging Fridays, and for a little bit, I believe at least, Minecraft Mondays.
I don't think that's going to be every week.
Sporadic.
That's just going to be once in a while.
Sporadic Minecraft Mondays.
We might do it monthly. It'll be Horizon again probably this coming Monday.
But you can find out what streams are going to be happening if you support us on Patreon, patreon.com/BigDamnCast, and for as little as $1, join the Discord server. motherfuckers. And then that way we can interact and talk bullshit and talk shop and reveal what games are coming up. Also, we can reveal what themed episodes we do going forward because, hey, we ain't going anywhere for a while.
No, as it turns out.
So, until next week, they expect at least one of us in the wreckage, brother.
We started the fire.
And the fire rises.
It makes no sense.
It makes no fucking sense. But hey, the Littlefinger got killed in a plane. Bye!
You could cut that entire scene, you know. You could it.